Here.
And Claire Gelano.
Present.
Have I see Dana Carver? Dana, is your mic working? All right, good enough. Have Jamie Lewis, I see you. Okay. Anyone else I missed? Speak now or forever be ignored and not present in the minutes.
Present.
We just
Brendan?
have Larry Johnson joining right now, getting
Okay.
admitted.
You absolutely.
Brandon Warzubach and Larry Johnson.
I'm here. Stephanie Dunn.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Andrew Hall, did you call him?
Michael Barber. Can you hear us?
Sorry, what was that? Was it Dana, did I hear?
No, Michael Barber.
Oh. Something Carver, very broken up, I'm afraid. Does anyone know offhand who that was?
Dana Carver.
Oh, that was Dana? Okay, I just saw Samsung phone something or other.
Hey, Daniel.
All right, can you hear me?
We do. We can.
I think I unboomered my mic.
I do have Andrew Hall.
Hopefully I didn't step on Andrew.
Okay. Joe LeBlanc, I see you're present. Phew. I'm pretty sure I caught everyone as they joined.
This is worse. All I want to do is listen anyway.
Sorry, who's that?
Can we get everyone to mute their mics if they're?
I see Jay playing background noise. There we go.
I muted JJ. If you have any trouble to unmute at any point, please state
I'm
in the
fine.
chat.
It's okay. I went back and forth. You're good.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, I think that is everyone.
Dan, would you mind, since I had some technical difficulties that delayed the recording start, would you mind to share your screen with the attendance so that everyone can visually review it and have it captured in the recording?
All right.
I will do that. Screen.
What did I do with that?
Can I find the right one? There it is.
Lighter.
Jay, mute.
Okay. Can I get it all in one? Yes, I can. Let me
Testing.
know when everyone, or if anyone has any concerns over the attendance list. I did hear your test, Jay, by the way. If anyone has concerns over the attendance list as it's stated, please let me know. I will delete these ones in red. Those are from last meeting.
I don't
Daniel,
think
you're
it's
not sharing.
showing
Yeah,
yet.
you're not sharing.
Not sharing. Oh, helps if I actually click share. I done boomered it. Is that? This is not. No. Okay. Try again. Screen 2. Let's do it that way. Is that showing attendance list? I don't think it's showing me what it's showing.
I do see the attendance list, I think.
Okay.
I think the Samsung user is Lainey Nix. I don't see her on the list. And I think probably Mike Farver is with her.
Okay. Thank
You have Stephanie Dunn is absent.
Correct.
Oh, Steph.
That's correct. Can you hear us?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I use the black font is present. So apologies if I missed a couple old absent tags. I'm sorry, that was Lainey Nixon. Who?
Mike Farber. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. I'm trying to figure out how to mute. I know how to mute, but I can't tell which side is which. So now I know. Thank you.
Gotcha. Okay, now I believe we have everybody. Any concerns, omissions? All right, are we all set, Mr. Chair?
Okay, so we have the roll call taken care of. There's a agenda prepared to consider for the meeting. One moment while I will put that on the screen. So hopefully that is coming through for everybody. Do you see the agenda proposal on the screen?
Looking good.
All right, so I'll do a quick review of that for everybody in case anyone does not have the easy view to see it. We have 7:30 p.m. call to order, roll call, approval of agenda, followed by review and approval of previous minutes for the November 28th LEC meeting and the January 6th special meeting, followed by officer reports and committee reports, unfinished business, followed by several items of new business, including a funding request for Christmas card fundraiser, funding request for website hosting reimbursement, a presentation of collected petitions, an issuance of the, or approval to issue the call to a special convention with some details for that, followed by filling of board vacancies, a requested motion to consider an audit of our finances, and appointment of the bylaws committee. Lastly, we would have an open floor with adjournment at 9 o'clock. Is there any discussion about the agenda before we consider a vote to adopt?
This is Andrew Hall. I
Um,
guess,
As long as there's no objections from the board, it's no problem for you to speak.
Andrew, can I bring up a question? Point of order?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just regarding the board vacancies, this is probably what Andrew Hall would have mentioned, but apparently in conversation with Daniel yesterday evening, District 2 is vacant according to the board, with Steve Fox's resignation to the previous illegal board apparently being accepted by this board. Anyway, with that being the case, Daniel mentioned that District 2 was mistakenly left off of the fill board vacancies notification. Can that be added, being as everything was done with short notice to begin with? Can that be added for tonight's agenda?
Unfortunately, it cannot be added. The filling of a vacancy requires specific notice. You are correct in the considerations around that, and it would have been valid had that been noticed, but in the preparations while the convention preparations were ongoing, I didn't realize that it had been processed, so I wasn't sure of that status, and I didn't include that out of caution. So unfortunately, because it was not noticed, it cannot be filled until notice has been given.
I understand. What is the notice requirement?
So that is to be noticed with the same notice for the meeting.
Thank you.
point of information, can you provide a citation for where that comes from, that the notice comes with the notice of the meeting?
The notice of the meeting per our corporate bylaws is that 2 days should be given.
That
1 second. Well,
yeah, that wasn't my question. Just to clarify, you just said that the proper notice for filling vacancies is the notice given for the meeting. And
okay.
I'm confused because previously when it came to the convention, filling vacancies apparently requires 30 days notice. But now for the board to fill vacancies, you're suggesting that it only requires a couple days notice. So I'm just wondering where that, if you can clarify what part of our governing documents specifies that.
Yes, the The convention and the meeting have different notice requirements. So therefore, the consideration for business in each of those is a different notice requirement.
That's, again, that doesn't answer I'm asking a very specific question here. Where in our governing documents does it say what constitutes proper notice?
One moment. Let's see here. So we have from Roberts in 4758, the notice of filling a vacancy in office, including in the executive board or executive committee, must always be given to the members of the body that will elect the person to fill it, unless the bylaws or special rules of order clearly provide otherwise. So in that case, the body to fill this vacancy is given under Article 3, Section 10 of our bylaws, that the board can appoint to fill a vacancy, and the notice requirement for that regular meeting being the 2 days. So do you have a citation to the contrary that says it's different?
No, I don't, but you certainly haven't answered the question. It's okay to say that that you don't have an answer to that question, because you don't. That's okay. You can just say it's not
Okay,
specified.
your
in
question has been
notice.
answered.
It hasn't been answered. You're pretending that it's been
no
answered.
longer have
but
the
it hasn't
floor.
been
Please
answered.
be quiet and stop interrupting the meeting, please.
You stop interrupting me.
You no longer have the floor, so I will move to the next person, Mary. Without objection from anyone on the board, I will give you the floor.
Sorry, I had to unmute.
No problem.
I'm a little confused here. Is Steve Fox still a member of the LEC or not? If
Steve
he
Fox
didn't
is not a member
resign
of the
to the
LEC.
correct board, that makes him still part of the LEC. Therefore, the seat is not vacant.
Steve also revoked his membership from the party, and per Article 3, Section 11 of the bylaws, a member of the board must be a member of the party. It gives provisions in a case of a lapse membership, but Steve's membership did not lapse. So when he resigned his membership from the board, from the party, he also resigned his membership from the board.
Point of information, can we see that resignation from the party? I don't know anything about that. Who's privy to that information?
That was presented, as we will see shortly in the meeting minutes for the November 28th meeting. It was presented and voted, as was pointed out by Mary, in a vote that was overturned. But given the removal of his own membership, he is no longer a member of the board.
Okay, because when West Michigan, we had our biennial convention, which is part of our bylaw after the election, it's a general election. We nominated Andrew Hall to fill Steve Fox's seat, because it has to be somebody residing in the old second district. And we did that back in December when we knew that Steve had resigned from the board. But there hasn't been any meeting since then, so we weren't able to put forth his nomination.
I don't follow the question.
Okay, so we do have someone willing to fill the vacancy tonight at the
We
meeting.
cannot fill the vacancy tonight, however, it was not noticed. We
Fine,
will, at a future meeting, we will fill
fine,
the
fine.
vacancy.
Yeah, well, okay, great.
Sorry for the mishap. All right, I see the next hand raised is Scotty.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused because on two fronts now. And I know I'm not well, I don't know if I am or not, because on November, you have on the agenda recognition of the existence of a November board meeting on which I was a member and a number of people were members, except that was nullified, I thought, by the judicial committee decision, in which case there was no November meeting. So how can we have minutes from a November meeting if there was no such meeting? And the other part I'm confused about is about the notice. I got notice of the vacancies when I received notice of the meeting. And isn't that in fact of this meeting? And isn't that in fact correct notice based upon the earlier discussion this evening?
The November 28th meeting was not invalidated, but individual consideration of items of business, whether they had continuing nature or not, were considered with that based on the judicial committee ruling. Had it not been for the fact of Steve's revoking his membership, it is correct that his board acceptance of his resignation from the board would have been invalidated. However, he also revoked his membership to the state party, which put him in violation of Article 3, Section 11 of the bylaws that says a member of the board must be a member of the party. So in revoking his membership to the party, it invalidated his board membership.
Point of information. So what, like, I just want to make sure I understand this. So you're saying that even though the judicial committee said that the board that was elected in July was invalid and invalidated any continuing anything that they had done, essentially, you're saying that if it suits your needs, that we can pretend like it happened, but if it doesn't suit your needs, then it didn't happen. I just want to make sure that we're all clear. Is that what you're
The
saying?
member is in violation of the rules to assume motives of other members of the board. I would ask that you
this
wait
is a
to
point.
be
This
recognized.
is a.
Excuse me.
This was a point of
Excuse me. I would
information.
ask that
I'm asking a
you were not
specific
recognized for
question.
your point of information. Please stop your interruptions. I will go now to Mr. Wurzbach.
Yeah, I'm really confused as to what basis is being given under the corporate bylaws. I have them in front of me here, and you seem to be saying that there has to be notice for a meeting, but if this is a regular meeting, then whatever the body decides is on the agenda is on the agenda. And under Article 3, Section 3 of the corporate bylaws, the directors then in office may fill a vacancy as provided by the LPM bylaws. The LPM bylaws very clearly state that vacancies must be filled by the LEC. I do not understand how you either intentionally or negligently failing to put an item on a proposed call to a meeting that isn't even binding on this body anyway somehow constrains this body from being able to consider a hearing. This is, again, just another example of using notice as a weapon of mass destruction against the membership of this party.
I would point out that you are again, in the same manner, out of order for assuming the motives of other members and attacking other members. I've already answered your question about the notice requirements. I will pass the microphone to Mr. Jacobs to speak a little further on notice requirements to elaborate on that for you.
I object to Mr. Jacobs speaking.
Appeal the ruling of the chair, please.
You haven't made a ruling, so.
All right, there's an objection to the hearing from the parliamentarian, so I would ask the board to make a quick vote on whether to hear from Mr. Jacobs regarding the question on notice requirements. So we have only those members on the board, the 11 recognized members. In favor of hearing from Mr. Jacobs, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is there debate allowed on this issue? Because I think it's important to point out that Mr.
Challenge
Jacobs
the
is not
ruling of the
our
chair.
parliamentarian.
Okay. We can have debate on the topic. So, Mr. Ellison, I heard your point that you said Mr. Jacobs is
I'm
not the
sorry, Mr. Chair,
parliamentarian.
have I been recognized for debate?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's important to point out when we're considering letting somebody speak, that the person that we're voting on whether or not he can speak is somebody who one has written an article that touts the benefits of weaponizing the bylaws, which obviously, as any of us realize, is a violation of the NAP. But aside from that, this is not a parliamentarian that this party hired, or that this board hired. This is a parliamentarian that is shown to be a partisan in favor of Andrew, and has in fact ignored facts when it came to the judicial committee hearing. And so I think that having him speak essentially as a partisan to support the chair is not in the interest of this party for him serving as a parliamentarian. He's not a neutral party.
I will point out that Robert specifically provides that the board or the body does not choose the parliamentarian. The parliamentarian is chosen by the chair specifically in our governing documents. However, that is all I will add there. Would anyone else like to speak in debate about the challenge to whether Mr. Jacobs be allowed to speak? Any other board members?
I'd like to speak in favor.
Okay, go ahead, Ryan, please.
I think I'd just like to hear from a parliamentarian. I don't see why there's any bias towards Andrew Chadderdon, the chair. He's supposed to follow parliamentary procedure on all issues, regardless of whatever factions exist within this party. I would say that we should hear from him because this very simple part of the business is causing a lot of contention, and I think this would air some grievances. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there any further discussion before we move to a vote on the matter at hand? Not hearing any more. I ask all of the current board members that would like to hear from Mr. Jacobs in response to Mr. Wurzbach's questions, please say aye.
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 All of those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, the ayes have it. Mr. Jacobs, you have the floor to respond to Mr. Wurzbach's question, please.
Yes, your bylaws have incorporated Robert's rules. And Robert specifies that absent of a bylaw requirement specific, these would be your actual party bylaws, that notice is required to fill vacancies. There are various types of notice that is necessary. Some of it for your conventions, as you've seen, some of it for notice for these meetings. This would be the same notice requirement here, which is which would be I believe it was a two-day notice as per the corporate bylaws.
If I may ask for clarification, because you are the parliamentarian and you're answering my question, can you please answer where in the corporate bylaws the two-day notice you are seeing comes from?
Let me take a look.
I have that handy if I may
If you would.
interject.
There is a provision
So-
called notice of meetings. It's on Article 4, Section 3.
Exactly.
Correct, but is it not also the case that if this is a regular meeting, the agenda is whatever it is noticed to that effect, and the notice of within that provision is speaking to the notice to the members themselves of a meeting, correct?
Well, let me read to you the section on meetings, which would be Article 4, Section 3. Notice of a meeting or special meeting shall state the time, place, and purposes of the meeting and must be given to each director in one of the following methods. And there are several methods that are given. The shortest period of time appears to be 2 days' notice. So I think that would cover it.
You're saying that the inclusion of the word purposes therefore means that nothing which is not included in the chair's notice of the meeting may be debated in any
That'll be
way.
for a special meeting. This is a regular meeting.
No, I am not saying that at all. I am saying that it says notice of a meeting or a special meeting.
Correct. A meeting has been noticed. You're not speaking to whether there is a meeting. You are speaking to what the agenda is for the meeting.
Oh, that's not a distinction that would be proper to make. It's saying that there is notice for a meeting, not notice for an agenda, but there is a requirement for notice for a meeting. There is also the requirement in Robert for notice to fill vacancies specifically. That notice has to be given.
I think to clarify, I think I understand what you're asking, Brandon. The meeting agenda can generally include any business that is approved by the body. However, filling a vacancy is a special case that uniquely requires notice to be provided for that specific item of business, independent of the considerations of adoption. That's exactly the item that was out of order at the July convention that invalidated those elections.
Correct, but my point at this point is that the notice that's being provided, you're attempting to say, Mr. Chair, that under Article 4, Section 3, notice of the agenda is fine on 2 days' notice. However, notice of the special convention requires 30 or 60 days notice under the bylaws, and the rationale being given for that is Roberts. So I'm not even sure why we're talking about the corporate in one spot and then the bylaws in another spot and then Roberts in another spot. And
you're mixing several different concepts. The elections are required at a regular meeting to have the notice required for the meeting.
Point of order.
Independent of the rest of the agenda.
Point of order.
Not accurate.
I heard 2 points of orders. Can it be clarified who was first?
I said it twice. I don't know if anybody else said it. So you said before that the proper notice for filling vacancies is the notice for the meeting itself. Is that correct?
At a regular meeting, that is correct.
Okay, so the notice for the regular meeting was sent on January 21st at 10:31 p.m. And it said, at this meeting, we will authorize a call to convention for the upcoming special convention. So it mentions absolutely nothing about filling any vacancies, which means that in your
notice for filling
which means
vacancies
that
was sent the next
excuse me,
day,
Mr.
which is
Chair,
more
I'm
than the
still
minimum
speaking.
notice.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I'm still speaking on my point of order. So what you had said before was that proper notice is the notice of the meeting. When you sent notice for the meeting, the only items that you included in that notice for the meeting was a call for convention and upcoming special convention. You did not call within that notice for there to
I have heard your
be
question.
notice for filling of vacancies.
I've heard your question. You're repeating yourself at this point. You would be correct if it were a special meeting. The notice for the business of the elections was given in line with the required notice to hold a regular meeting. Therefore, it met the required notice. There is not a requirement for a regular meeting for that all to be introduced at the same time.
That
does not make sense.
That is completely contradictory to what you said.
No, it is not.
10 minutes ago.
It is not contradictory. We're
It
going to move
absolutely
on now.
is.
If you were talking of a special meeting, you would be correct. That is not the case today.
So point of order, I believe that this is in fact a
All right,
special
you're not
meeting.
recognized. You are not recognized. You do not have the floor. I'll move on.
Point
to
of
the next.
order.
We're not
Point of order.
recognized. Your point of order is frivolous. You are not recognized.
It's not frivolous. It's a point of order regarding whether or not this is a regular meeting.
All right, state your point of order.
So according to Roberts, a regular meeting refers to a periodic business meeting.
Okay, your point of order is out of order. It's not
for
well
which
received.
the day should be prescribed by the bylaws and the hour and place should be fixed by a standing rule. So this is not a regular meeting.
You are out of order, sir. The bylaws state
I'm
that
not
the
out of
body
order. I'm
will
making
put
a
the-
point of order. When you recognize me for
Excuse
a
me,
point of
your
order,
point of
you
order is
allow me to
frivolous
make a
and you
point
do
of
not
order.
have the floor. Please be quiet.
You have to allow me to make my point of order. It's
No, I
not
do
frivolous.
Your
Absolutely.
point of order is
Mr.
frivolous.
Chair. This is
okay?
ridiculous.
You have made your point of order several
I have not
times and
made
it
it.
has been
You cut
ruled
me
out of
off.
order.
You won't let me make it because you know I'm right. That's okay. You
This,
can
this
say that
is,
too.
This is not a regular meeting under the corporate bylaws or under Roberts, and JJ
Can the
knows
guest
that.
please quit
Excuse me,
speaking?
Mr. Worsbach, you are not recognized. This meeting is a regular meeting, as has already been cited. Our corporate bylaws specify that a meeting or a special meeting can be given with 2 days notice via email. This is a regular meeting. There was no spot where that was called a special meeting in the notice of the meeting. It is a regular meeting. The notice requirements to issue the business in the call for the meeting are not valid for a regular meeting. That addresses Mr. Worsbach's claim.
So again, referring to Roberts 9.1, it requires that the regular business meeting be held at a weekly, monthly, quarterly, or similar interval for which the day should be prescribed by the bylaws and the hour and place should be fixed by a standing rule. That's not how we operate. It's not fixed in the bylaws.
You are correct in that. Your point of order is not well taken. Our bylaws allow that a meeting to be done by resolution as how that is regularly done. And furthermore, our
What
state
was the
party
resolution
bylaws,
to
which
call this meeting?
supersede
What was
chair
the
called
resolution to
meeting.
call this meeting? There was no
Excuse
resolution.
me,
to
you're
call
out
this
of
meeting.
order.
There was no resolution.
You
to
are
call
out
this
of
meeting.
order. Please be quiet.
There was no resolution to call this meeting.
I'll recognize Mr. Brungart.
Yeah, I would like to motion to amend the agenda to remove the filling of vacancies. There was only 2 days notice given to all party members. And that's just not enough, especially considering the fact that certain positions were not noticed. We should just push this off to our next meeting.
Second the motion.
Call to question.
All right, we are now in discussion of the amendment to remove filling board vacancies. Would you like to, you spoke, I believe, Mr. Brungart, for your motion. So give me 1 second. All right, since Mr. Brungart spoke in favor of the resolution, do we have anyone on hand to speak against the amendment? Okay. Not hearing any volunteers, I will open up.
Sure, I'll do it.
Mr. Zamba, please go ahead.
Yeah, notice did go out. People returned a number of requests to me, both now and previously when these things were, if not noticed officially, noticed informally by communication of the JC decision. So I have received a number of communications. People were aware that these things were open, especially the ones that are up tonight, as opposed to the District 2 one, which was not as well understood. Therefore, and I'll cite the past difficulties in even finding volunteers for a few of these districts. I'm not at all convinced that deferring these elections would be of any benefit to the board or the party.
Thank you. Mr. Canny, you have your hand up.
I thank the chair. I want to speak for the amendment, and I think it's been made crystal clear over the past couple of months how important providing sufficient notification to the members of the body on these type of things is to the party, that we need to do this as a board and really make sure people are aware. And I understand that the secretary has received some responses. that clearly is not good enough. That does not meet the standard any more than the number of votes that were cast at convention was good enough due to a lack of notifications. 4 days is not sufficient for this type of thing. It never has been. And I understand that it meets requirements. I understand the points that the parliamentarian has made here, and that it may be sufficient according to an interpretation of the rules. That does not make it right, and it doesn't make it right for the members. I'm not rejecting this motion out of hand. I am asking that it be moved back to the next meeting to give sufficient time for all members to make the decision if they want to apply for these roles or not. Thanks for the time.
All right, do we have any further discussion about the amendment to remove filling board vacancies from the agenda? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, we will move to our vote on whether to see. I see Scotty has raised his hand. Do we have any objection from board members to hear from Scotty? I don't hear any objection. Scotty, you have the floor.
Okay, and I'm just basically confused now because I realize now I'm hearing a contrast of two different things. If for district reps at a meeting, 2 days was sufficient notice, then, and I'm not saying this would apply to anything else in the JC decision, but then why would the JC decision on notice, which was given much earlier than 2 days, remove the district reps from their positions that were believed to be in place before December?
Yes, that is, I can answer that. So that is because the type of meeting that was at play in the special convention has a much higher lead time and barriers to participate. In order to participate in the special convention, members have to attend a local convention at their affiliate.
Point of order, there was no
make their-
special convention.
You did not have the floor, sir. They have
Point of
to,
information.
the members have a lot more headway in terms of obstacles to being involved. The case
Point
of
of
a
information, there was
regular
no
monthly
special
meeting.
convention.
Your point of information is not well taken. There was, and it was settled by the Judicial Committee. The regular meetings of the board are expected meetings. All of the participants are aware that they occur on generally a monthly basis, and therefore there's not the same obstacles to participate. Everyone is easily able to jump on the Zoom meeting for the state party meeting, and therefore the notice requirement to conduct business at that meeting is therefore smaller. Does that answer your question, Scotty?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Do we have any more discussion before we move to the vote on the amendment to the agenda? All right. Hearing no further discussion.
I'd like to discuss. I'd like to speak against.
Okay.
So
You have the floor.
so under Roberts requires notice for filling vacancies. And our chair would like to pretend that what that notice is so that people can show up to the meeting to vote. That's not the intent.
Excuse me, sir, you are out of order, assuming the motive of other board members.
This is not a
permitted.
motive. This is what you just said.
Yes,
Please stop
you
interrupting
did.
me. Are you done interrupting
You are
me?
out of order. You are
Are
no
you done
longer have the
interrupting me?
floor.
I'm speaking. I have the right to
Mr.
speak.
Ellison, you are
I can
now
speak
out
for
of
up to 10
order.
minutes.
You have been, no, you may not. You no longer have the floor. Mr. Ellison, you are out of order.
I am
Stop
not
your
out of order.
interruptions.
I have a right
or
as a
we will
member of this
be
board to speak
bringing-
against this motion. I've been
Excuse
recognized
me,
and you cut me
Mr.
off.
Ellison, I will now bring to the board a motion whether you will cease your interruptions or you will be removed from the meeting.
I have a right to speak when
Okay?
I'm recognized.
No, you do
without
not. You've been
cutting me off.
repeatedly out of order. So we now have a motion on the floor of whether Mr. Ellison should be forced to stop his interruptions or be removed from the
You
meeting.
interrupted me.
Excuse me, Mr. Ellison.
I had the floor. You interrupted me.
You do
This
not
is-
have the floor. You are not allowed to speak. Mr. Jacobs, can you please tell me, does this motion require discussion?
I object to Mr. Jacobs speaking.
Okay, so we now have discussion of the matter on hand of whether Mr. Ellison should be asked to stop his interruptions or be removed from the meeting. Is there anyone that would like to discuss the motion?
I'd like to discuss it.
You have the floor.
Okay, so what I was saying before as it relates to the amendment. So the point is that I'm trying to make a legitimate point. I'm trying to make a legitimate point, and I am taking what our chair has said and paraphrasing it, and paraphrasing is not attributing motives. The chair literally said that the point of the notice was so that members could show up. It was, notice is short for a virtual meeting because the meeting is easy to attend. That is exactly what he said, and that is what I was doing. That is not attributing motives. What I'm trying to do is debate a specific issue. And every time I try and debate an issue, the chair cuts me off and tells me that I'm out of order. Frankly, if we should be voting to tell anybody to stop interrupting, we should be voting to tell Andrew Chadderdon to stop interrupting.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else have discussion on the matter at hand that Mr. Ellison must cease interruptions or be removed from the meeting? Hearing no further discussion, we will move to a vote. All of those in favor?
I request a roll call vote.
Mr. Ellison cease his interruptions or be removed from the meeting. Please, we can do, I believe, a roll call vote on that. Mr. Zamba, would you please bring a roll call vote?
One moment. All right. Ryan Roberts,
Yes.
Jordan Martin,
No.
Rick Dalen,
Yes.
Dave Canny,
No.
Brian Ellison,
Pass.
Mike Saliba,
No.
Joe Brungart,
Nope.
Bruce Jakeways,
No.
Daniel Millmiller.
Yes.
I abstain. Andrew, do you wish to vote? Or, yeah, do you wish to vote, or should I return to Mr. Ellison first?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Ellison, do you wish to vote?
What's the count?
Count is 3 in favor, 5 against.
I'll abstain.
Motion fails.
All right. So I believe we were on the amendment to the agenda on the motion to remove filling board vacancies from today's agenda. So I believe we had completed our discussion.
We haven't
and we
completed
will
our
move
discussion.
to our, excuse me, Mr. Ellison, you're not recognized on the floor. You are out of order.
Point of order.
You've already spoken on this matter.
I have not spoken on this matter.
You have spoken on this matter.
I have not spoken on this
Yes,
matter.
Mr. Ellison, you are out of order again. Please be quiet. You have spoken on this matter. You will not be recognized again on it. All right, we are moving now to the vote.
Notice is to
on-
allow people
Excuse me,
time
Mr.
to submit
Ellison, you
their
are out of order. You
applications
have
for
been
filling the
recognized
vacancy.
previously and you do not have the floor. All right, we are moving to our vote. All of those in favor of removing
get a
the
roll
board
vote, please?
vacancies. I'm sorry, Mr. Candy?
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Zambo, would you please conduct another roll call? This is for the amendment to remove filling of board vacancies from our agenda.
Point of information, could I take this time to make
Mr.
a couple
Ellison, you are
points
not
that I wasn't allowed to
recognized.
make?
No, you may not. Please be quiet.
All right, a vote on whether or not to remove filling of LEC vacancies from the agenda. Jordan Martin,
Yes.
Rick Thalen,
Oh.
Dave Canny,
Yes.
Brian Ellison,
Yes, please.
Mike Saliba,
Yes.
Joe Brungart,
Yes.
Bruce Jakeways,
No.
Daniel Millmiller,
No.
myself, no. Ryan Roberts,
No.
Andrew, do you wish to vote?
I wish to vote no.
All right, the total is 5 in favor, 6 against. Motion fails.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion on the agenda for this evening before we vote whether to adopt? Let's see. I'm not sure if you both either spoke. I believe that you've each already spoken on the business of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to see the agenda on the screen again before we vote on it. It
Yes.
wasn't provided to us before the meeting, so I'd like to.
That is
Capture.
correct. I will do that.
And point of information, I haven't really been allowed to engage in any debate at this point.
You're not recognized. Please wait to be recognized before you give your points of information. And that
If
was
you
further not a point of information.
The point of, was it
You
a
do
point
not
of
have the
order?
floor, sir.
Point
Please
of
be quiet.
information, was that a point of order?
No. All right. I have not heard any further discussion on the agenda, so
I
I
have a
will move.
proposed amendment.
I believe you already spoke on this.
I have not spoken on the main, I don't even know if there was a main motion to adopt the agenda, frankly. So I don't know how I could have already spoken on something when the motion doesn't even exist.
Okay. You can move an amendment.
I move to remove the line item that says unfinished business with no specifics underneath it.
Okay. There is no, okay, yeah, that's fine. Do we have discussion of that amendment? All right, not hearing any discussion, is there any opposition to removing unfinished business from the agenda? Hearing none, that row will be stricken. Okay, we are back to the consideration of the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Ziemba?
Move to adopt the agenda as now presented.
All right.
Second.
Is there any opposition to adopting the agenda as presented?
Yes.
Okay, move to a vote. Can all those in favor of
Roll
adopting the
call vote,
agenda?
please.
All right, Mr. Ziemba, please do a roll call vote.
All right. Those in favor of adopting the agenda as amended, Rick Thalen. Rick?
Yes.
Yes. Dave Canny? Dave? You're muted, Dave.
No, sorry. No,
Thank you. Brian Ellison?
No.
Mike Saliba?
No.
Joe Brungart?
Pass.
Bruce Jakeways?
Yes.
Daniel Milmiller?
Yes.
Vote yes. Brian Roberts?
Yes.
Jordan Martin?
No.
Andrew, do you wish to vote at this time?
Yes.
And Joe, would you like to vote at this point?
What's the tally?
6 in favor, 4 against.
I'll abstain.
Okay, motion passes.
Excellent. We have adopted the agenda. Only took us an hour. That'll bring us to our next point of business, a review and approval of the previous minutes. I believe those were sent out shortly in advance of the meeting. Does anyone have any corrections to present before we adopt the meeting minutes for those two meetings? Mr. Brungart?
Yeah, I don't have any corrections, but I didn't receive any meeting minutes or any packet or anything prior to the meeting.
Mr. Secretary, I believe you sent that out. Is that correct?
I did not. My apologies if that was.
Okay, would
I
you
probably should have
mind
after
to
reviewing the
present
agenda.
those?
Apologies.
Would you mind to read and present those minutes to the board?
Yep, I will bring them up now. One moment. My computer screen doesn't rearrange itself in the meantime. All right, should be sharing now. This is the November 28th meeting. You can see the attendance list here. Agenda was amended to move up the date of next meeting vote, then approved. Let's see. Reports, not much going on. Legislative committee updates. Number of issues at the website were noted. payment processor change was discussed. Treasurer replacement was noted in the wake of Norm's departure and resignation. Angela Thornton Canny taking his place as acting treasurer at the time, or at least informally. Next meeting date was set for 20th December at that time. The holiday greeting cards expenditure was approved. There was a motion from Mr. Raphael Wolf to explore a canned spam lawsuit regarding illegal phone spam. As I recall, basically ended up with him volunteering to look further into it and fund initial research into it. A bylaws committee vote was set for the next meeting, as was a platform committee. Campaign support committee discussed its outcomes and funding issues. The July 9th convention was discussed and its contention with the judicial committee at that time. There's an inquiry over the new PO box that is now in, at the time it hadn't been established. I believe it did end up going through and it's now in Royal Oak. Subsequent to that, more discussion of the JC appeal ongoing at the time. And then there was this motion to hire a parliamentarian, which did pass, to represent the party at the JC appeal. That is the thrust of the minutes for the November 28th meeting.
I have a point of, well, I don't know if it's a point of order or a point of information.
What is your question?
My question is, Daniel had just mentioned that that we established the PO box at the November 28th meeting. And as I understand the judicial committee ruling, they invalidated any ongoing, I don't know how they worded it. Frankly, I didn't even read it. But if they invalidated that, my question is the PO box no longer valid since establishing a PO box would kind of be an ongoing action?
Payment was made for that service and cannot be revoked. It is therefore not correctable. Are there any further corrections to the minutes that need to be brought?
I'd like to make a motion if I could.
What is your motion?
I move to table the approval of the minutes from this meeting and the January 6th meeting, since we did not receive them prior to the meeting and didn't have adequate time to review them.
Second.
And
Point
just
of
to-
information.
And
Mr.
just
Chair.
to, I'm sorry, to be more specific, to table them to the next regular LEC meeting.
You can table the motion that's currently in front of the body. You cannot table a future motion at the time. Mr. Zambo, you had a point of information?
Yes, believe it is true that all current members of the board were in some capacity or other members of the board at that time or representing part of the board, and they did all receive the November 28th minutes as of the conclusion of that meeting. I believe that very night, if I recall correctly.
I believe they were sent out that day or the next. I received them on that day as well.
It may have been the month before, but it was the same night.
All right. So we will move to a vote on the motion to lay the approval of the November 28th minutes. We have now a vote on whether they should be put to the table. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
Nay. Motion fails.
Can we get a
Are there
roll
any
call vote?
corrections to the minutes? Your roll call vote is frivolous. It was clearly decided in favor of nay. We will not redo the vote.
I didn't even vote because I didn't know that you called the motion. That
You're not in order, Mr. Ellison. Please be quiet. The motion was clearly announced and the vote was clearly announced.
Point of information, point of inquiry. Who
Mr.
made
Ellison,
the
you're not
motion?
recognized.
Point
You
of
do not have the
inquiry.
floor. Mr.
Point of
Ellison, you do
inquiry.
not have the floor. Please be quiet.
Point of inquiry.
All right. So do we have any further corrections to the November 28th minutes? Hearing none, we will move to a vote on their adoption.
Point of inquiry. Who made the motion to adopt these minutes?
Hearing no further motions for any corrections, the minutes do not require a vote to be adopted. So the November 28 minutes are adopted. Moving on now to the January 6th meeting minutes. Mr. Zamba, can you please present those? I believe those were sent to all members on the day of that meeting as well. So I will move immediately to ask for any corrections to be made for those meeting minutes.
Okay, apologies. Zoom is fighting for control over every part of my screen.
I don't know what it is. Just don't look at it.
Okay,
Look at this screen.
January 6th special meeting minutes. Here they are.
Cigarette.
Sorry, can the guest please mute their
Not
mic,
me.
please?
Yeah, he's smoking.
Somebody is off mute.
Taken care of.
All right.
All right,
So we have
January
the
6 minutes are on screen. There was only the special order of authorizing the chair to arrange and sign contracts for a special convention, which was approved.
All right, Mr. Ellison, do you have a correction for these minutes?
No, I do have a motion though.
What is your motion?
I would move to table approval of these minutes until the next regular LEC meeting.
Okay. Do we move directly to a vote on that? All of those in favor of tabling the approval? Is the motion seconded, first of all?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of tabling the approval of January 6 minutes until the next regular meeting, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Nay. That was very close, so I would move to a roll call vote, please, Mr. Zimba.
All right, roll call vote on the motion to table approval of the January 6th LEC minutes until the next regular LEC meeting. Dave Canny,
Yes.
Brian Ellison,
I'll pass.
Mike Saliba, Mike.
Sorry, I'm unclear on the motion.
The motion is to table approval of the January 6th, 2023 minutes until the next regular LEC meeting.
Nah.
Okay, Joe Brungart,
No.
Chris Jakeways,
No.
Daniel Millmuller.
No.
I vote no. Ryan Roberts.
No.
Jordan Martin.
Abstain.
Rick Dalen.
No.
Andrew Chadderdon.
No.
Brian, do you wish to vote?
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Okay, the noes carry.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Mr. Miller, do you have a?
Yeah, it seems like we still have a bunch of business that we want to do, so I move to extend the end of the meeting by 30 minutes.
Second.
Let me see. I think that is currently out of order while we're on this agenda item, but we can make
all
that
right.
as the time is approaching. Can I get a momentary clarification from the parliamentarian on when that would be in order to bring, as we only have 15 minutes. Is there any opposition to hearing from the parliamentarian?
Can we hear from Richard Brown, who's on the call?
I'm sorry, no, I'm requesting from the parliamentarian selected.
It is probably in order when nothing else is pending. Probably be a little bit better to do it towards the end of the towards the time that the meeting was going to end, maybe a little bit on before that, but it's not, you could do it now since you've already taken care of since the immediate pending question was taken down.
So I think that would be to say that we do not have any further corrections to those minutes and can consider those adopted. And then we would move into the consideration of the motion from Mr. Miller. Okay, so apologies for the hiccup there. So I believe we will then move into Mr. Miller's motion to consider a 30-minute extension of today's agenda. Mr. Miller, would you like to first speak to your motion, please?
Yeah, I mean, we just have, I don't have the number up in front of me, but there's a number of items and we only have 13 minutes left at this point, so I think we need more time.
Does anybody wish to speak against? All right, Mr. Ziemba, were you going to speak in favor? If
No.
not, I will. Okay. All right. Is there any opposition to extending the agenda by 30 minutes? Hearing none, we will consider that adopted. Furthermore, I would state that the meeting can be extended again later if we need to complete the agenda. So, officer and committee reports. I'll start that off with the chair's report. Basically, I'll keep it short and sweet. We had our appeal come through in late December, which overturned the events of the July 9th convention. We got to this point as it's been very contentious. I immediately tried to work with members of the board to develop a plan to focus our efforts as a party on candidate elections. We put forth an announcement to the party on the 23rd of December announcing an initiative coined as Operation Win Local. And we sought to negotiate with the rest of the party on how to handle our business for the coming year. In those negotiations, we presented considerations around how to optimally plan our events, including our convention most notably, around other key obligations that we had, and try to plan that so that we did not obstruct other efforts such as running for office or fundraising for campaigns. It has since been identified that by not being able to postpone a convention that we missed several opportunities to run for local elections for mayors around the state, including in Oakland County and several in the Upper Peninsula. So it's very unfortunate that call to special convention was issued at Christmas time as it was, as we could have spent that time to research and run for those races and had a very productive time this spring. So sad to say that we're here where we're having to deal with a special convention, but it is the right of the members to call for such a special convention. And we therefore have moved forward with that and plan those events out. So in line with the petitions that were submitted by members of the party on January 3rd, there has been arrangements which will be presented later for a special convention to be held in accordance with notice requirements for the party, as well as an additional petition that was circulated and will be presented to consider additional business at the special convention. So hopefully we can get through that tonight. I know we have a lot of other business to get through, so I'll cut my report off there. And I will open the floor to any additional officers that would like to present reports or committees that would like to be presenting reports. I believe we had at least one submitted in absence as well. So do we have any other officers? I believe, Mr. Zamba, do you wish to give a secretary report of any kind?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mike Saliba and I both have our hands up for questions.
Did you have questions related to the chair report?
I do. I'm not sure about Mike. He had his hand up first.
I did.
Okay, Mr. Saliba, please go ahead.
Do you have a list of those elections that are coming up this year?
That was worked on by another member of the party. I don't have that list handy. The filing deadline has passed for those items that were going to be in May. It was, I believe, last Tuesday. There were 4 to 6 elections happening. Full details with me right now. Mr. Brungart?
Yeah, thanks. Mr. Chair, you said that you attempted to negotiate with some folks from the rest of the party on how to move forward in a non-contentious manner. Could you please detail who you spoke with and also what types of matters were discussed as options?
Yes, indeed. I spoke extensively with both Leah Daly and Angela Canny on that. I presented details from those discussions already. We discussed about planning the convention around things like convention dates and guest availability. There's further text conversations that presented a framework for selecting those dates, potentially around when those other conflicts happened. Further consideration was given to the fact of the bylaws improvements that needed to be made. And then trying to weigh those all out. And it had been initially discussed that it would be held off until this meeting before a call to special convention was made. However, that call was then issued on, I'm sorry, that petition was circulated on December 26th after multiple NDA violations and emails sent out on Christmas Eve, and made it impossible to pursue those other plans and other items to present the considerations around scheduling that.
So it was only those 2 members of the party?
Nope.
May I address the chair?
No. Mr. Ellison?
Yeah, if I guess maybe kind of a follow-up to what Mike had asked. So I would understand if you don't know all the races and all of the stuff, but with these missed opportunities, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. If we missed an opportunity to get a candidate on the ballot, can you name a candidate that we had lined up? Just one. I mean, we had 4 to 6 races. I understand you're not going to know all of them, but can you just name for us one candidate who was prepared to run in one of those races and an opportunity that we actually missed?
Mr. Ellison, that request was made in late December to have the opportunity to research and investigate opportunities to find races and then to find candidates for those races. You cannot identify a candidate before a race is identified. There was opportunities discussed about waiting to call for a special convention until those opportunities would be given. A specific proposal was made to give until the end of December to research those races so we could present those findings. And that opportunity was specifically denied between Mr. Canny and Mr. Stempfel sending out their NDA violating emails that initiated the petition process for that special convention.
Point of information.
That's out of order.
no Violation has ever been proven.
Yeah.
That is absolutely out of order.
Your points
It's out of order to impugn
You are
motives to other
mistaken.
members of this board.
No,
How dare you,
that
Mr.
is-
Chair?
Excuse
How
me,
dare
that
you?
is not out of order. You are not recognized. The NDA violation is not the same thing as the disciplinary proceedings, and you are you are mixing concepts intentionally.
And that's absolutely.
You are aware of this. Excuse me, you are not recognized, Ms. Canny. The proof of NDA violations has been provided to those members.
It has
It is
not.
not,
been.
excuse me. The proof of NDA violations has been provided unequivocally. The access to that is not part of membership rights and it is not bound by the disciplinary proceedings that are governing the process for the investigatory committee. The requirements you are citing do not apply to that consideration. If you have issue with that, you are welcome to challenge that. However,
I challenge
it
that.
is not applicable. This is not the correct forum for that. You can issue a challenge to our judicial committee. We're now going to move on. Mr. Zion.
Point of
Point of
order.
order. It looks like there's several questions for you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, you were not recognized. I was moving to additional questions. Mr. Ziemba.
Yeah, so I was just going to speak to the fact that I took part in some of these talks and considerations of what we'd hoped for the new year, namely not to be embroiled in another convention fight and organizing a special convention. And I would have liked to have dedicated my time to those things as well, rather than trying to get a handle and my head around all of what's going on now, upending the party, spending my time during the holidays doing that. And to hear that news over Christmas after having thought that we were on a good standing right before, from people who seemed, well, what I thought was a better standing, at least right before, from people who I guess always have many times claimed to care about representation in the party. I guess that doesn't extend to representation in the state where we're ostensibly supposed to be focusing our efforts. And that a few months delay was just intolerable, apparently, in addressing what they felt was, well, an unfair appeal of what obviously others felt, myself included, was an unfair convention. It's just disheartening and disappointing.
Mr. Kennedy, do you have a question regarding the chair's report?
Oh, I absolutely do. I believe that the accusations made of myself of NDA violations without proof. You say you submitted me proof.
Mr.
All I
Kennedy, your
ever
question
saw
has already been
was
addressed.
accusations.
You no
This
longer
is
have
out
the
of-
floor. All right, Mr. Brungart.
I don't have anything at this point. Thank you.
Okay. I believe we have heard from all the members of the board on this matter, so I will move on to additional reports. I believe Mr. Zamba declined to give a secretary's report. To my knowledge, the only additional report we had submitted was from the Judicial Committee. Mr. Zamba, would you care to present that report?
Sorry, was that the Judicial Committee report?
Along with any other committee reports that were submitted, if you would.
All right, judicial committee report. Submitted via email by Mr. Palmasino of the committee. Should be on the screen now. Noting that on November 8th.
It has not popped up yet. There it is. Here
Okay.
it is.
Noting that on November 18th, Mr. Chadderdon submitted his appeal to the JC regarding the July 9th convention. That was discussed over the next several weeks after that. Appeal was upheld as of December 19th. The reports are in a Google Drive folder, which has been widely circulated to the party. It's available to all members. If you did not receive the link, please let me know, secretary@michiganlp.org. I will forward it to you. December 26th, it received an appeal from Mr. Ellison regarding the conduct of the chair at the July convention. It convened and opted not to consider that appeal as the argument was frivolous and unsubstantiated. There is a drive folder on that as well.
Thank you. I believe that concludes all of our officer and committee reports. So we'll now move to.
Are we allowed to ask questions about the JC report?
Yes, you may.
Okay, can you bring it back up, Daniel?
I can. Here it is.
So what it shows there is that on November 18th, Mr. Chadderdon made an appeal. And I believe that the Judicial Committee sent out a notice on the 19th. So the appeal, and it doesn't say so in the report, but the appeal was made like in the evening, like late evening of the 18th. In the morning of the 19th, the Judicial Committee sent out a notice to the party saying that an appeal had been made. And here's the timeline for submitting all your arguments. And here's the process, and here's the date of the hearing. So then I made an appeal on December 26th. And I was kind of expecting that on December 27th, there'd be a drive set up and that people would be able to look at the appeal and people would be able to comment. Because it only took like, a matter of hours for the Judicial Committee to do this for the November 18th appeal. But instead it was just dismissed. And so I'm just curious if the Judicial Committee could explain why there was essentially an automated process for the November 18th decision that put it right into a schedule that kind of frankly seemed to be predetermined since they already had everything set
Mr.
up.
Ellison, your questions have been
And so,
answered by the
but the
Judicial
20
Committee and their response
but
to
on
the
the
party. It's been sent
26th,
out.
there was
You're
not-
asking a
that was
frivolous
not
question
done.
at this point, and you are no longer recognized. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
All right, we're now moving into our new business section. Do we have Jeff Patel on the line? You raised a request for funding to cover additional expenses related to the Christmas card fundraiser. Would you like to speak to
That's
that?
right. Yes,
Request number?
it was requested and approved for $800 for the Christmas cards. End up being a tad more, $827 and some change. So I'm asking for that final reimbursement, $27 and some change to be covered via discretionary funds or whatever, but I just need to be reimbursed for the balance that's due, including that $27 extra.
Do you have the specific amount handy?
I am requesting $116.53.
116?
Yeah, I mean, I've already been reimbursed some of it, as has Leah Daly. The balance is 116.53, and that puts the total at 827.28. And it was approved for $800. So.
Okay, so a total of 100. So you said it was 20 something beyond what you were previously authorized, right?
Right, the authorization was $800 and the expenditure was $827.28. And I will have a report next month on basically what we had collected via that initiative. And we definitely covered the 827. It's probably a few $100 in the black.
Great to hear. Thank you very much. So I believe we are looking for a member to make a motion to authorize the additional 2728, if I heard that correctly. Mr. Zamba?
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any opposition to granting the reimbursement for the full amount spent?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Mr. Zamba, would you like to speak to your motion in favor?
Yeah, I guess per the authorization at the time, 800 approved, very slight overage. And to my understanding, Mr. Vattel, we're covering that slight overage plus whatever remaining expenditures have not yet been reimbursed. Is that correct?
There are no additional expenditures, so, and we
Yeah, this
don't
is-
know.
The 116.53 is making up the balance of the 827.28. Is that correct?
Correct.
So yeah, I see no reason not to approve it. It was a slight overage, but obviously based on the membership chair's report, was worth our money, regardless of who approved it.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Kenny?
Yes, thank you. It certainly makes all the sense in the world to approve this, and the board can approve this amount. My issue with it is our bylaws say that only the treasurer can spend money. So as a board, we can approve this expenditure, but according to our bylaws, without a treasurer, we can't pay it.
Point of information, I
I
don't think
can
our
wait.
bylaws actually state that. Our bylaws state that the treasurer should track the spending and also gives the chair the power to conduct business on behalf of the party.
Do you agree with Mr. Brungart's interpretation of that? So I will issue the motion. I will rule that the motion is in order to proceed.
Mr. Chair, also just a point of information, we did collect $830 in checks alone. I'm not sure how many donations were made online.
Thank you very much. All right. Is there any further discussion of the motion before the body? All right. Hearing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. All of those in favor of authorizing reimbursement to Mr. Patel, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
No,
Thank you very much. Appreciate your question, Mr. Canny. Thank you for raising the concern.
Can you record that I abstained?
Mr. Zimba, would you please?
It is recorded.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our next item of business, we have consideration of website hosting reimbursement. This was paid in advance by Mr. Larry Henneman. We had the unfortunate circumstance that we only received 1 day notice that the funding or the subscription to our website hosting and email provider was expiring, and we did not have a board authorization to pay that expense of approximately $360. And Mr. Henneman generously offered to front the money for that so that we could ensure our website hosting did not go down, on the good faith assumption that the board would grant approval to reimbursement for those funds. So do I hear a motion to reimburse Mr. Henneman for the amount that he spent with DomainIt on our website hosting?
Mr. Chair, I've raised my hand.
Mr. Ellison.
I move to reimburse Mr. Henneman for the amount that he paid for the hosting and thank him for his service to our party and acknowledge him as a hero.
Okay.
Second.
Would you like to speak any further to your motion if it's now been seconded? So would you like to speak to your motion at all?
I think my motion speaks for itself.
Do we have any
Call the
further
question.
discussion? All right, hearing no further discussion, we will indeed move to a vote. Is there any opposition to the reimbursement for Mr. Henneman?
We have one no vote here that I'm not going to speak for. I just want to be on record as voting no for the same reason stated earlier.
Okay, we'll go to a voice
Mr.
vote. In that case, is that, do you have a further comment, Mr. Zimba?
Oh, I wanted to ask Mr. Kenny, did you want me to record that it was you specifically objecting previously?
Yes, please. I'm just concerned about the wording in the bylaw about the treasurer shall expend.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor of the reimbursement to Mr. Henneman, please say aye.
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 We have Mr. Canny noted specifically as opposed, and any additional votes against. All right. Are you all set on that with recording?
Yes,
Mr.
thank you.
Secretary? Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we have for our next order of business consideration of additional petitions. So this is in addition to those submitted on January 3rd. We had 2 petitions that have previously been verified. One is to fill all of the current board vacancies, which I believe is our first and second vice chairs, our treasurer, districts 2, 6, 8, 13, and 14. That was passed and verified. And we additionally have another petition for a motion of no confidence in the chair that was submitted and verified with sufficient signatures. Additionally, we have a new submission of petitions that will be shared with the party. Hopefully there is a item coming through. In submission for that, there's a list of the members who signed the petition. In total, we have 38 signatures on this petition, citing the membership expirations. This will be shared to be verified, along with references to the CVCRM entries for that. So currently the membership as of earlier today stood at 349 members, setting the threshold to have a successful petition at 35, with 38 signatures collected here, is meeting that threshold. So this will be shared for any independent verification desired, and would open the floor for any discussion further around this petition. I believe Mr. Ellison had his hand raised first.
Yes, I have maybe it's a point of information, I get confused, if you could pardon me. So what I'd like to know is, can these petitions, aside from what was shown to us, can they be sent to us? That's question 1. And question 2 is, I know I missed a meeting, but were the petitions for the first, the special convention that was actually called, were those also shared with the committee? And if not, can they be?
I believe that the previous submissions made on January 3rd were shared to the whole board by Mr. Brungart. I believe those were sent to the whole executive committee. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If they weren't, I think that is in order to request that they be. So we'll verify that. And this set of petitions will indeed be shared with the board.
And if I could, if you'll indulge me, also, I see that you've done the verification. I don't know who did that, but whoever did it, great work. If that same verification was done for the other petitions, can we also get that as well?
Those have been certified previously and not contested. I did not prepare that certification of those. I would leave that open to if anyone else would like to generate that, but I don't believe that that is obligated.
Okay, so to clarify, you just certified the one that you had an interest in. That's kind of, okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Ellison, you are again out of order for assuming a motive there. Those petitions were already certified. Mr. Bringart, you're recognized.
Yeah, I would also like to know if I think that the petition that you just showed us for the first time needs to be certified before it can be discussed. And I would also state that if this is such a serious matter, which it seems to be, we shouldn't wait for a special convention. We should just discuss this now. And if there's enough evidence for a potential violation, we should create a committee to investigate those members right here in this meeting.
Mr. Bringart, your suggestion is out of order per the bylaws. It would be a violation of due process and cannot be considered further. This must be done in executive session at a convention.
Okay, if you could, you don't have to do it right now, Andrew, but if you could send me that requirement somehow after the meeting.
Yes.
I'd still say we should have that petition certified before it be considered by the board.
We can make a conditional notice for the meeting pending the certification, which there is evidence provided here for that justifies that that is worthwhile. Ms. Patel, without objection of any board members, I will recognize you to speak.
Yes, the first batch of petitions were sent to my attention, and I did review those in the membership database that we're all familiar with.
Would you be willing to check the work on this one?
Yes, and I am going to note that I am distinguishing between considered new members or current members. Does the bylaws say current members? Anybody just joined is considered new, not current.
For the purposes of a petition, the bylaws do not stipulate that. It's people who are members as of the submission of the petition. So I have no objection if you
Well, there is a distinction between, it says current members, and there is a distinction
point of
in
information,
the database
Mr.
with
Patel's
that.
correct.
Okay.
That does not affect
I
their
just want to
eligibility
comment on that. I'll distinguish between it, and you guys can decide amongst
Certainly.
yourselves. Okay.
Andrew, could you pull up the bylaw, because I believe it is actually distinctified.
It does say current members to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
And that does not invalidate people who are members for less than 30 days. One moment and I will share that.
If I could, I don't know if I missed part of Mr. Patel's explanation, but would it be out of order for me to ask him to clarify what he just said?
I believe that point is he will present those who have been members for less than 30 days, but that does not have bearing on the validity of the petitions. The current membership, as was cited, it says current members. They are being submitted today.
Right, there's a distinction in CVCR between current and new, so that's the difference that I am going to outline when I review the petitions.
Okay, you can note that.
Point of inquiry, because I'm unfamiliar with Civi. Mr. Patel, what are you saying, that there's two classifications of members within our database, one being new and one being current?
That distinction applies for eligibility to participate in a convention as of the date of the convention. It does not apply to the eligibility to submit a petition.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, that was for the membership committee chair.
Okay, I've answered your question.
Yeah, there's a distinction between current and it's considered really active and new.
Thanks, Jeff.
That's a distinction I'm drawing upon.
We have further to support that. We have Article 6, Section 8. A person must be a current member of the Libertarian Party in order to serve as a delegate, and the person who has never been a member must be a member for at least 30 days to be eligible to be a delegate. And that is the distinction that is made in the Civi CRM system. This is not eligible. This is not considering the eligibility to submit a petition.
Point of information, this is two separate sections of the bylaws. You've previously, Andrew, you've previously stated that different sections of the bylaws cannot be referenced to make a ruling on.
Your point is out of order. That is not relevant to the discussion.
It is relevant.
Well, point of order. So
Point is-
it looks like according to section 8 here, you must be a current member to be in order to serve as a delegate to the state convention. And then it goes on to say that a person who has never been a member must be a member for 30 days. So the way I'm interpreting that, it seems like you must have been a member for 30 days to be considered a current member. And my question would be for
Mr. Ellison, your statement is incorrect.
This is a question.
Statement
It's
about
not a
the eligibility
statement.
to be a delegate.
This
It
is
is
a
not
this is a
relevant.
question, not
Your
a statement.
point is not well taken, and you are
My
not
question-
recognized for the floor.
Well, my question is
Mr.
for
Ellison,
how
you are not recognized to speak any further. There is no further discussion to be had.
No, this is a point
Mr.
of
Ellison,
information.
you are no longer recognized.
The
Your point
bylaw
is-
itself
asking
creates
is-
a definition
You
for current.
are out of
Yeah.
order.
My question is, how does Mr. Patel, how does Civi differentiate between Civi and new? If you could answer that question.
Our CIVI is not a governing
This is for Mr.
document.
Patel.
This document, you are not allowed to address Mr. Patel, Mr. Ellison. Please stop interrupting, or we will have another vote on whether you should be removed from the meeting. The person, the distinction relating to 30 days is specifically called out for the eligibility to be a delegate. In the section here, in Article 6, Section 4.3, I'm sorry, Article 6, Section 3, it says 10% of the membership, of the current membership. There is no distinction that says current membership means in the party for 30 days.
Point of
And
information.
furthermore, anyone that signed that petition will be a current member will be a 30-day seasoned member at the time of the convention, because we are more than 30 days from that convention.
Point of
There's
information.
no further,
Point of inquiry.
your question has been answered, and your
Oh, so-
ongoing inquiries on the point are frivolous and will not be heard.
It's a different question.
What is your different question?
My question is, of the people that signed the petition, how many of those have been members for less than 30 days?
I don't have that information.
Is it on the form that Mr. Ziemba shared? Because if it is, we could just look at it.
It is not on that form what their original membership date was. The petitions will be verified, and we will be proposed to issue a conditional call to the convention that if those petition thresholds were met per the bylaws, that business will be included. If they are found to be insufficient, then business will not be included. I will note that we are approaching the adjournment time. Can we hear a further motion to extend the meeting time?
Mr. Chair, I believe I was next.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr.
question.
Broomgart,
Point
you
of
are not recognized from the floor. Mr. Broomgart.
Motion to
you are-
adjourn is a privileged
That
motion.
was a privileged motion.
Always in
The
order.
person did not have the floor.
Motion to adjourn is a
The
privileged
time
motion.
has been set for adjournment at 9:30. We are not
Motion
there.
to adjourn is privileged.
Point
motion.
of
It is
order.
not
It is a
privileged
privileged
when you
motion.
do
It's
not
not an
have the
interruptible
floor.
motion.
It is not an interruptible motion.
Motion
When
to
the time,
adjourn.
and furthermore, when the time is set, it is not a privileged motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second.
Okay, we'll move to the vote on the motion to adjourn. Please note that if we do not issue the call to this convention, we are still bound by the notice requirements. So I believe a motion to adjourn is not debatable. So, Mr. Ziemba, I'm sorry, I'm informed that it would be debatable because it is not currently privileged with a time to adjourn having been set. So I open the floor to debate of the motion to adjourn. Mr. Broomgart, would you like to speak for your motion?
Yeah, it's 9:30. We've already been here longer than the time the chair established. in the agenda, even though he didn't provide an agenda in advance. But it's half an hour past. I'm tired. I think everybody else is, and we've done nothing but argue tonight.
I will inform you that we have an obligation under the bylaws to issue this call to convention per the submitted
Mr.
petitions.
Chair, are you engaging in
And
debate?
I am not, excuse me, you do not have the floor. I'm informing of the bylaw obligations of the membership. If we adjourn without doing this, it will be in violation of the bylaws to adjourn without calling a meeting when these petitions have been submitted.
Point of information, hasn't the board already authorized you to call the special convention?
The action of calling the special convention versus arranging and signing the contracts for the convention are different actions, so no.
I have a
I
point of
have
inquiry.
Mr. Ziemba next to be recognized. Is your point of inquiry privileged?
It's related to what you just spoke about.
I don't believe that's privileged. Mr. Ziemba.
I call the question.
Do we have opposition to calling the question? Hearing no opposition, we will move to a vote to adjourn. I ask this be a roll call vote. Mr. Ziemba, would you please conduct that? I apologize, Mr. Bowman, as we were in the middle of a motion and you are not a member of the board. I cannot recognize you at this time. I apologize.
All right, the motion is to adjourn. Brian Ellison,
So to clarify, yes would be to adjourn now.
correct.
All right, I would vote yes.
Mike Saliba,
Yes.
Joe Brungart,
Yes.
Bruce Jakeways,
No.
Daniel Millmiller,
No.
myself, no. Ryan Roberts,
No.
Jordan Martin,
Yes.
Rick Thalen,
No.
Dave Canny,
Yes.
Andrew Chadderdon.
No.
I'm sorry, 5 in favor, 6 against, motion fails.
Okay. We have a motion to extend our time for our meeting.
So moved, 30 minutes till 10 o'clock.
Second.
Second.
All right, do we have any discussion of that motion? Mr.
Like to
Brungart,
speak against.
you wish to speak on this motion, or did you have your hand raised or something else?
I had my hand raised for the topic we were speaking about.
All right, I will recognize you when we go back to that.
Thank you.
Mr. Zamba, did you already speak for your motion? I'm sorry, I didn't.
I think
Lower
all
your hands.
arguments have been made. I'll call the question.
I would recognize Mr. Bowman if there is not opposition from the board. Mr. Bowman?
Did I have my hand up?
You do. Did you not?
Okay, well, I guess I'm recognized. I just kind of say what I've been grumbling about in the chat, which I just hope that we can get to the call to convention, fill any rep vacancies that can be filled and move on. Sorry, I'll take down my hand though.
I share that dream.
I appreciate your comments, Scotty. Thank you very much. I also hope we can achieve those things tonight. All right, so we have now until 10 p.m. I've updated our agenda, which I will put back on screen. We are now at a motion, or we are at the time for consideration of the call to special convention. Do we have a motion to approve the secretary to issue a call to convention for the two
Chair.
certified petitions and a conditional certification or conditional notice for the business in our third petition pending the certification.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Wingart, you may be recognized.
I move to table discussion of the third petition until our next regular LEC meeting.
Petitions have been submitted for that motion. That motion would be against the bylaws as it would delay the issuance of that convention.
I don't believe that's accurate. I think we haven't had an official recognition of the members on the petition. It would be very very unprofessional of us to not investigate whether the
That is the
petition-
purpose of the conditional notice of business.
Okay, you interrupted me. We we need to know whether the petition is valid. So the step was taken with the other two petitions to have the members that signed it validated prior to a meeting. We need ample notice to know what's going on here. If you want to call a special,
Cite the rules that you're referring to, please.
go ahead.
Mr. Zimba.
I'm sorry, was Mr. Brungart going to keep speaking on those rules you requested?
I don't know. Now I'm confused. What did you ask me?
I asked you to cite the rules you're referring to that demanded
not-
that delay.
I'm not referring to any rules. What I'm referring to is a need to conduct ourselves in a manner that we know what we're voting on. We don't know if we're voting to send a call for a petition that's valid or invalid.
If the petition is found to be invalid and not meeting the requirements, the notice would not go out for that business.
Point of information, who would determine if it's found to be invalid, and where is the authority for that decision within our bylaws?
The petition will be evaluated based on whether 10% of the members have submitted petitions. That is an objective
well,
fact.
Andrew,
That
is
is either true or
my
not true.
motion,
My-
are you saying my motion's out of order? Because I don't believe it is.
I did say your motion to table that to the next meeting is out of order because we are obligated to issue the call to convention once we have those petitions and we have
Appeal the
other
ruling
arrangements
of
in
the
place.
chair.
Okay. We have an appeal of the ruling of the chair.
I will second it for the point of discussion.
All right, we will move immediately to a vote as the appeal to the ruling of the chair is not debatable.
Since when is that not debatable?
Since the motion that it's involving is not debatable. Joe made a motion to lay on the table that is not a debatable motion. Therefore, the challenge of the ruling of the chair against it is not debatable. Mr. Zamba, would you please prepare a roll call vote for that?
Point of parliamentary procedure. Can you cite the section that says that appeal, the ruling of the chair is not debatable if the question is not debatable?
Yes, 1 second.
Thank you.
So that would come from section 24, number 3.2. If a point of 24:3.2. An appeal, I'm sorry, 0.5. An appeal is debatable unless it relates to indecorum or transgression of the rule of speaking, relates to priority of business, or is made when an undebatable motion is, or an undebatable question is immediately pending or involved in the appeal. I ruled that the undebatable motion of tabling this business was out of order, and therefore the challenge of the, so because it is an appeal of an undebatable motion, the appeal is undebatable. You ready
Thank
for
you,
the roll call
Mr.
vote,
Chair.
Mr. Zimba?
There we are. All right, Mike's, this vote is on the appeal of the ruling of the chair. A vote in favor will overturn the ruling of the chair. A vote against will uphold the ruling of the chair, which is that this motion presented by Mr. Brungart is out of order.
Can you restate the motion? I'm sorry.
The original motion by Mr. Brungart was to table approval of the call to convention pertaining to the investigatory committee. That was the third one mentioned. And that motion is ruled out of order by the chair.
I believe the motion would have to be considered as shall the ruling of the chair be upheld. So a
Okay.
yes vote would maintain that the vote is out of order. Please correct me if I am wrong on that.
I believe you are correct, Mr. Chair.
Shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? So we need a majority yes to
Okay.
sustain the ruling.
So I strike what I said previously, a yes vote sustains or upholds the ruling of the chair, a no vote strikes down the ruling of the chair and allows this motion to continue.
That would allow us to hear
Correct.
Mr. Brungart's motion to table it. If the noes succeed, we can hear Mr. Brungart's motion. Is everyone clear on the question?
All right, Mr. Saliba,
No.
Mr. Brungart,
No.
Mr. Jakeways,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
myself, yes, Ryan Roberts,
Yes.
Jordan Martin,
No.
Rick Thalen,
Yes.
Dave Canny,
Yes.
Brian Ellison.
I will abstain.
Mr. Chair, do you wish to vote?
Is it decided already?
It is
I will
6
abstain.
yes to 3 no's.
I'll abstain.
Point of order, please. This was really not very clear at all. I move for reconsideration of the motion.
I believe that you voted yes, Mr. Kinney.
According to Rona, I voted yes. Yes, I did vote yes on that. And I move for reconsideration. That moves the discussion to the meeting.
With a vote of 6-3, I do not believe your reconsideration would be substantive.
That's not required.
Okay, you're correct, I think. So we will do another roll call vote. Would you please repeat that, Mr. Zamba?
All right. Please listen carefully. Shall the ruling of the chair be upheld that Mr. Brungart's motion to table approval of the call to convention for the investigatory committee petition until additional certification of those petitions occurs be upheld? So the chair ruled Mr. Brungart's motion out of order. A yes vote will sustain or uphold the ruling of the chair that it is out of order. A no vote will strike down the ruling of the chair.
Point of information. Maybe, I don't know. Is a question a point of information?
Yes,
Point of
typically.
information would be providing information to the
Okay,
body,
what,
by my
what would it be
understanding.
if I have a question?
Personal
Request
inquiry.
for information
Re-
or personal.
Personal inquiry. So if we, let's say, for instance, that we vote this down and we say no, we could potentially just schedule a special meeting 3 business days, 2 business days from now, and address this after the petitions have been certified. Is that accurate, or is that me being?
This is not relevant to the issue at hand.
No, I don't
The
understand.
board is obligated to issue a call to convention when petitions are submitted to the board.
I understand that, but
This
but
is
my
not
question is,
relevant to the appeal. You're out of order.
I'm out of order for asking a question. If we could have a
Yes,
meeting with
because your
this after
question
it's,
is not related to the item of business.
it is, it
It
relates
is
to the
not
vote.
related to the business. We are on a challenge to the ruling of the chair.
It
It is
affects how
not
I vote.
relevant to the, I'm sorry, but your question is not in order. You're not recognized. We're moving to an immediate vote. It is not a debatable motion. You do not get to debate through privileged motions.
This was not a debate. it
Excuse
was a
me, you are not recognized.
You're impugning motives to
Mr.
me.
Ellison, you are not recognized. I will now bring another motion whether Mr. Ellison should be removed from the meeting for his continued interruptions of order. I believe it is in order to call for the vote to remove the member from the meeting. Mr.
I mean, I'm being as
Ziemba, would
respectful
you
as I can.
please
This is just a
excuse me?
question.
You are not recognized to speak.
I apologize.
Been continually dilatory and repeatedly brought up repetitive and out of order questions. Mr. Ziemba, would you please begin a roll call vote on whether Mr. Ellison should be removed from the meeting?
All right, the roll call vote is shall Brian Ellison be removed from the meeting for repeated interruptions? Mr. Brungart. Mr.
No.
Brungart? No. Okay, Mr. Jakeways,
No.
Mr. Miller,
No.
myself, I abstain, Ryan Roberts,
No.
Jordan Martin,
No.
Rick Thalen,
Yes.
Dave Canny,
No.
Brian Ellison,
Yes.
Mike Saliba,
No.
Andrew, you wish to vote?
Is it decided?
Yes.
I'll abstain.
So it fails, 2 in favor, 7 against, 2 abstentions.
All right, would you now move into the roll call vote on the reconsideration of the challenge of the ruling of the chair that the motion to table the petition is out of order? A yes vote will sustain the ruling of the chair that it is out of order to table the motion or to table the petition.
Okay, shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? Mike Saliba,
No, I'm voting to continue Joe's motion.
correct. That would be a no vote. Joe Brungart,
No.
Bruce Jakeways,
Yes.
Daniel Miller,
Yes.
myself, yes, Ryan Roberts,
Yes.
Jordan Martin,
No. Like to hear discussion.
Rick Thalen,
Yes.
Dave Canny,
No.
Ryan Ellison.
How did Dave vote no? Did Dave vote
No.
no? I
Dave
vote
voted
no.
Mr. Chair, do you wish to vote?
I will vote yes to sustain the ruling.
All right, motion passes 6-5. Ruling of the chair is sustained.
All right, the motion to table consideration of the petition is not in order. So do we have a motion to authorize the secretary to issue a call to convention of the special convention per the terms on the page in the agenda?
I move for
And
separation of the
local business.
petition on the motion, please.
Sorry, I had my hand raised.
Mr. Zamba, you are recognized.
I move the motion to approve myself to prepare and issue the call as noted in the agenda.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Do we have a discussion? Would you like to speak to your motion, Mr. Zamba?
I don't think there's much more to say other than we have the petitions. Believe it's been stated they were certified. It's only an independent, separate certification that's in question here. And whether or not there's, regardless of anyone's objections, if it's found to be invalid, it will be overturned and that business will not occur at convention. So it's irrelevant, frankly. And everyone here has agreed that additional certifications may be conducted.
I believe Mr. Ellison is the next with his hand raised.
So I have a, this might be an amendment. I don't know. Let me talk through what I'm proposing. So I suggest that if we authorize this, we authorize it with the caveat that there is an ad hoc committee that reviews the petitions, because my question before was about who we, and stop me if you feel like I'm getting into debate, because I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to express my thoughts here. So if we authorize an ad hoc committee, so there's not a single individual that authorizes or that approves the petitions. So if we say, yes, let's issue the call based on these items, let's amend that to include forming a committee of 3 or 4 members of this board, let's say 3 members of this board that would review the petitions and certify the petitions within, like, let's say a week. Was that really unclear? I bet that was really unclear. I move to amend the Daniel's proposal to include that we form an ad hoc committee of 3 members of this board to approve, validate the recently submitted petitions that have not been distributed to the board.
Second.
The board can, so anyway, all right, I think the motion is in order. So it's been seconded. Let me see. I believe that your statements can be considered as speaking for your motion already, or would you like to say anything further, Mr. Ellison?
I would just briefly though, but I think that it's essential that when we get a petition from the membership, whether or not we as individuals agree with the substance of the petition, it's our obligation to schedule the special convention. I don't want to stop that from happening. I do not want to delay that from happening. However, I think it's appropriate that we approve or that we review the petitions are in line. I'm not suggesting that they're not in line. I'm just suggesting that somebody other than our chair and our secretary should be the ones that are responsible for reviewing the petitions and verifying the membership. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Ziamba.
I'll speak against because I believe Jeff agreed to validate them himself, and I trust him implicitly with matters like this. So I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a waste of time, frankly.
we have any further discussion?
I guess a point of
Mr.
information.
Ellison, you are not recognized.
This is not debate. This is literally a point of inquiry. If we don't authorize a special committee to do this, is it going to be the membership committee that does it?
I don't believe our bylaws speak to that.
Because I certainly agree with what Daniel said. Like if Jeff's doing it, totally on board. But if Jeff's not doing it, not at all on board.
We could motion that Jeff be responsible for that.
Would a motion to amend my amendment be in order?
Mr. Ziemba, as you brought that, would you like to?
So moved.
Okay.
Would you like to second that, Mr. Ellison?
So it took, I think I would, but just to clarify, so the motion is now that the membership committee would be the ones to
Mr. Patel
validate the
specifically.
petitions.
I would say
That's-
Mr. Patel with the aid of the committee as he sees fit.
Okay, if that's the case, seconded, absolutely.
Okay. Any discussion? I would ask that we try to work promptly and go through this without discussion if possible. Any opposed to the amendment to Mr. Ellison's amendment? Hearing no opposed, we will take that as adopted. We are now considering Mr. Ellison's amendment as modified by Mr. Ziemba's amendment. So we have a motion to amend the main motion to state that we will issue the authorization to Mr. Ziemba to issue the call for special convention and only including the third petition contingent on the certification by Mr. Patel will be amended if we adopt this motion. So if we pass this, we will still go back to the main motion and debate that. Do I hear any discussion? I'll ask then if there's any opposition to adopting this amendment to the main motion. So we will still go back to debate the overall motion. Hearing none, that amendment is adopted. So we now have our main motion on the floor to authorize Mr. Ziemba to prepare and issue the call to special convention per the terms on the screen to include the third petition contingent on Mr. Patel's certification of signatures. Mr. Ellison, you have your hand up.
I believe that Joe had his hand up before me. I'm not sure though.
I did.
Okay, Mr. Bringart.
Yeah, I'd like to speak against this. When we had our special meeting to authorize the chair to seek out a venue and sign contracts, there was what I thought a quote unquote gentleman's agreement to schedule this special convention somewhere in a centralized location of the state. However, the chair, I'm not sure the reasoning behind it, has chosen to pick Wixom, Michigan, which is really off here in the corner of Southeast Michigan, Detroit area, and puts those of us that live in the Metro Detroit area at a significant advantage, and really kind of is a FU to the people that live in the rest of the state.
Okay, Mr. Ellison, would you like to speak?
Yes, I move to amend the proposal to say that we will hold the special convention on February 17th. Start of business at
Mr.
9
Ellison,
a.m.
your motion is out of order. It is not meeting the.
I
60
haven't even
minutes
stated
requirement.
my motion. How can you say it's out of order?
You stated an element that is out of order. Your motion is out of order. You're not recognized. Is there any other discussion?
I
on
would
the
like to
motion?
make a motion.
Mr. Ellison, you are not recognized.
I would like to make a motion to ask the chair to stop interrupting me.
Your motion is not well taken. You're out of order.
Can we please make a motion?
Mr.
to
Ellison,
ask the
you are
chair
out of
to
order.
Stop interrupting me.
Mr. Ellison, you are out of order.
If he doesn't recognize me on the third time, I get
Mr.
to hold it
Ellison, you are
myself.
not in order here. I bring another motion now to remove Mr. Ellison from the meeting.
Since
Mr.
the chair
Ziemba,
has
would you
not
please-
recognized me,
Mr. Ellison,
I
would
would
you
like to
please
conduct a vote.
conduct
to
a
please
roll
ask
call
the chair
vote
to
to
stop
remove
interrupting
Mr.
me
Ellison
during debate.
from the meeting.
My
Mr.
motion
Ziemba,
is that the
please
chair stop
conduct
interrupting me
a
during
roll call
debate,
vote.
and I call for an immediate vote. This is
Mr.
per
Ellison, you
Roberts.
are not recognized. Mr. Ziemba, please conduct a roll call vote on removing Mr. Ellison from the meeting.
Roll call vote on removing whether to remove Mr. Ellison from the meeting for the interruption stated. Bruce Jakeways,
No.
Daniel Millmiller,
Yes.
myself, yes. Ryan Roberts,
Yes.
Jordan Martin,
Third time, no.
Rick Thalen. Is that a yes? Mr.
So I
Thalen,
guess there was a delay there. Yes.
thank you. Mr. Canny,
No.
Mr. Ellison,
Pass.
Mike Saliba,
No.
Joe Brungart.
No.
Mr. Chair, would you like to vote at this time?
Yes.
Mr. Ellison,
I will abstain due to a conflict of interest.
all right, 5-5-1, motion fails.
Okay, we are now on the floor for the main motion. Mr. Miller, you have the floor.
I'd like to call the question.
Is there any opposition to call the question?
Yes. I still would like to engage in debate. I have an amendment to offer.
Okay. You recognize Mr. Ellison?
I would like to make an amendment to change the date of the convention to February 17th.
Mr. Ellison, you're out of order. This amendment is not appropriate. Our bylaws require a 60-day notice.
If I could,
It
Mr.
violates
Chair,
the notice requirement.
If
Your
I could,
motion is
Mr.
out of order. You cannot, Mr. Ellison.
if
You
I
will
could
be
bring a
muted.
point,
Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Hearing no further
I have
discussion.
a point of order.
Mr. Ellison,
because
your point of order is not well taken. Your
This-
points of order have been repeatedly dilatory.
No, this is an issue for the board to decide, not the chair.
I'd like to hear it.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
It's not a point of order, and there's no ruling to be appealed.
You ruled my motion out of order. I appeal that ruling.
There's no reasonable interpretation that a convention on March or February 17th does not violate the 60-day notice requirement on our bylaws.
There's
That is
absolutely
exactly the matter of business that was decided in the previous judicial committee appeal. It is settled in our bylaws. It is not in order to consider a petition on February 17th.
This
Your
is up to
motion is
this
out of
body
order.
to
It is
determine.
not. It is decided by our judicial
I appeal the
committee.
ruling of the chair.
Mr. Thielen, you are recognized.
I appeal the ruling of
Mr.
the chair.
Ellison, your appealing is not well taken.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
Mr. Thielen?
Yeah,
I appeal the ruling
we
of the
need more
chair.
time. We're approaching 10 p.m. We need
This
another
is
half an hour.
according to Robert's
Motion to add
rules.
half an hour.
I
Mr.
have
Thielen,
called for an
Mr.
appeal
Ellison,
for
you are
3
not
times.
recognized.
I've
I
called for an
motion
appeal
to
3
add half
times.
an hour. Ryan, I'm trying to talk.
Second.
I motion to add
I'm
half an
trying
hour.
to talk. I am
All
trying
right,
to
we
talk.
have
And I
a
have a
motion
legitimate
on the
appeal.
floor.
This is an appeal to the ruling of the chairs, and I would like to ask
Stop
the
for muting
parliamentarian
yourself.
if my calling for an immediate vote is in order. My call for an
It is not
immediate
in
vote.
order. Your mote is not in order. Mr. Thielen has made a motion
It
to
is
the floor. It has
absolutely
been
in order.
seconded.
You've refused.
Mr. Ellison, you are not
You refuse to
recognized.
recognize
Mr.
me.
Ellison, this matter has been
I call
settled by
for
our
a vote.
judicial
All
committee.
those in favor of appealing the ruling of a chair.
Mr. Ziemba, we have a motion, I'm sorry, Mr.
All those in favor of
There's
appealing
a
the ruling of the
motion
chair.
to add time, add 30 minutes to our agenda. We have a motion to add 30 minutes to the adjournment.
JJ
for
knows
agenda
I'm in
tonight.
order. That guy knows I'm in order.
I
Absolutely,
will take
100%.
based on his facial expressions, that is a false statement.
100%. Richard Brown knows I'm in order. You refuse to reckon.
All right.
And it's
Do we
not
have any
dilatory.
discussion? Do we have any discussion on the matter of extending the agenda by 30 minutes?
Yes, we do.
All right. What discussion, Mr. Kenny?
I oppose another extension. We've done this twice.
I remind you that adjourning without issuing this call to convention is a violation of our bylaws and the duty of the board to deal with the call to convention.
Thank you for the reminder. I oppose another extension.
Without objection, I will recognize Mr. Bowman. Mr. Bowman, you have the floor.
Non-binding recommendation, hit the universal mute, make the call of convention, assume all interruptions to be dilatory until you make the call of convention, open the mute button, and then continue the meeting. That's my advice.
I'm not aware of technical capability to do that, but I appreciate the recommendation. So if not seeing any further discussion.
Stop free speech. That's great.
You're not recognized, Mr. Rungart. I do not see any further discussion about the motion to extend the agenda. So I ask Mr. Ziemba to, or I'll start with a voice vote. All those in favor of extending business by 30 minutes, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Nay.
Nay.
Mr. Ziemba, will you please do a roll call vote?
There we go again. All right, Daniel Millmiller, do you wish to extend the meeting?
Yes.
I vote yes. Ryan Roberts.
Yes.
Jordan Martin.
No, thank you.
Rick Thalen.
Yes.
Dave Canny.
No.
Brian Ellison.
No.
That was a no, I believe. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
I didn't quite hear you. Was that a no?
Pass.
Okay. Mike Saliba.
No.
Joe Brungart.
No.
Bruce Jakeways.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, would you like to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Ellison.
What's the vote?
6 in favor, 4 against.
I also vote yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. So I believe we were calling the question of the motion to authorize the secretary to issue the call. I think we did not have any further discussion, so we will move into a roll call vote on the call of the convention. Include all 3 petitions in the event that Mr. Patel certifies the newest.
I have further debate.
Mr. Ziemba, would you please proceed with the vote?
I move to divide the question.
Second.
How would you wish to divide the vote?
I would wish to divide the vote based on the petitions that were submitted nearly a month ago versus the petitions that we just saw for the first time tonight.
We already have a motion considering that, and it is the obligation of the board to consider those.
I think it's the obligation to consider dividing the question as well.
Okay, is there any further discussion of that point?
If the previous petitions were able to wait, so can the newest one.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, we will move to a vote on the motion to divide the calls to convention. All those in favor of dividing the question, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Nay.
No.
Nay.
I forgot to vote aye.
No.
Mr. Zambo, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
All right, roll call vote, motion to divide the question. My vote is no. Ryan Roberts,
No.
Jordan Martin,
In hopes it'll get us done sooner, yes.
Rick Thalen,
No.
Dave Canny,
Yes.
Brian Ellison,
Yes.
Mike Saliba,
Yes.
Joe Brungart,
Yes.
Bruce Jakeways,
No.
Daniel Millmiller.
No.
Andrew, do you wish to vote? Mr. Chair.
No to divide the question.
6-5, noes have it. Or 5-6, I should say.
Okay. We are back to the motion, the main motion on the floor. Mr. Ellison.
Yeah, so since I wasn't able to offer my amendment, I just want to argue against this and if effectively speak in favor of my motion to amend.
Your motion is out of order. Your statement is out of order. You cannot argue for an amendment that was ruled out of order. You can speak on the main motion.
I'm absolutely speaking on the main motion. I'm speaking against the main motion because I think it should be amended. And so what
Keep your comments to the main motion.
my comments are absolutely to the main motion, and I think the main motion would only be appropriate if it were amended. So what I'm saying is that our bylaws specifically state that we have to hold a convention within 45 days of the petitions being submitted. That means, and based on my calculations, and I'm not the best at math, I do it every day, but I'm still not great. Is that it's February 17th would be the deadline for us to hold this special convention and still be in compliance.
Ellison,
with
your
our
comments
bylaws.
are out of order. That
How
has
are
been
my comments? This is a
that we
fucking
cannot
debate, for
hold.
Christ's sake.
Mr. Ellison, you are out of order for cursing in a meeting. Please
This is
stop
a
your
debate.
interruptions and your
How am I
dilatory
not
motions.
allowed to argue my points?
You are not allowed to curse in the meeting. Please keep your
You're
commentary
not allowed to
in
interrupt
order.
me when I'm debating my
Mr.
point.
Ellison, you are out of order. You no longer have the floor.
This is absurd.
Mr. Ellison, you are not recognized. Mr. Millmiller, you have
I
the
have
floor.
not been allowed to argue a single.
Mr.
This is
Ellison,
absurd. This is
Mr.
absurd.
Miller.
I'm gonna call the question.
This is absolutely absurd that I cannot argue a single point.
Mr. Ellison, you are not recognized. The question has been called.
I was recognized
There's no
until you cut me
further-
off.
Okay, we are moving.
I was
to a vote.
recognized until you cut me off. Why can I?
We are moving to a vote on
Why
the
am-
main question.
Why
Mr.
am I not
Ziemba,
allowed?
would you please call
Why am I
a
not
roll
allowed
call
to-
vote on the main motion?
Why am I not allowed?
I'm
Finish
sorry.
debate.
We're
I
moving
get to
to a
debate.
vote.
I
on-
get to.
We're
I-
moving to a vote on calling the question per Mr. Millmiller's motion.
Andrew, you're
All
absurd.
those in favor
Andrew,
of
you
calling the
are
question,
absurd.
please say aye.
I have
Aye.
a right to debate
Aye.
this topic. I have
Aye.
a right to debate this.
All of those
You
opposed?
can't limit. You cannot limit my because
All
you-
of those opposed to calling the question,
Is
please say nay.
me.
All right, the
Are
question
you
has been called.
suggesting that
The
I
question
can
has
only
been
debate
called.
if I agree with?
The question has been called, and
is that
we
your-
are moving now to the motion, to the vote on the main motion. Mr. Ziemba, would you
Absurd.
please conduct a roll call
You're
vote?
absurd.
Mr. Ziemba, would you
Absurd.
please prepare a roll call vote on the main motion?
I can't believe the rest of the board is letting this happen.
Point of personal privilege. Brian, I'm sorry, I should be recognized first.
Mr. Zamba, you're recognized.
Brian, I cannot focus on this damn many things at once. I'm sick of hearing it. The reason you're and the
Allowed
reason
to
has been
debate, Daniel.
stated why
I'm
this is
allowed
out
to
of
debate.
order.
You're not
And I am
recognized.
going insane having to hear it.
I'm
That's why
allowed
it's a
to
point
debate.
of personal privilege.
Mr.
I don't
Zamba,
want to
would you
hear
like
anymore.
I am
Another
allowed
motion to remove Mr. Ellison?
I am allowed to debate.
Mr. Ellison, you're not recognized.
I can't believe the board is letting this happen. I'm
Mr.
allowed to
Ellison,
debate.
you are not recognized.
Silence your opposition.
Question has been called on the main motion.
Ryan Roberts.
Can you repeat the motion?
All right.
please?
The main motion is as originally stated to approve the secretary to prepare and issue a call to special
I
convention
object.
for the 1st of April,
I object.
2023, start of business at 9:00
Point-
a.m. in Wixom, Michigan,
point of-
VFW Post
Point-
2269, $200 security deposit to be paid. Issue delegate allocations. Business includes that listed in the 3 petitions submitted, filling vacancies, motion of no confidence in the chair, and motion to appoint an investigatory committee.
So a vote in favor would vote for this.
Vote in favor means that we can issue this call to convention.
Okay, I vote yes.
Jordan Martin,
Pass.
Rick Thalen,
Yes.
Dave Canny,
Abstain.
Brian Ellison.
Fuck you.
Mr. Ellison, your conduct is
Point of
inappropriate.
personal privilege again. Or point of order in this case, I guess.
If I'm not allowed to
A
debate,
motion-
I'm not going to
Mr.
vote.
Ellison, another motion will be on the floor now. I'm sorry to interrupt the other vote. Can we please consider again? I'm sorry. The vote must continue, and then we will
You're
immediately proceed
absolutely
in another
infringing my
motion to
rights as a
remove.
member of this body.
Mr. Ellison, you are not recognized. Please continue the vote after
You
we have. the
limited
chair-
my right to debate because you disagreed with it.
Mike Saliba.
That is
Really quick, am I remembering this wrong, that we were still on a motion to amend this that got interrupted by the motion?
No,
to
we are considering the main motion to adopt the authorization to issue the call to convention.
What was the result of the vote to amend it? it's
It was
fuzzy now.
amended
Which
to
amendment are you-
include the conditional authorization for the 3rd petition pending
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Patel's
Okay.
authorization or certification of the signatures.
I'm sorry.
I have a
you're
right
that
to
wasn't-
state my objection.
No, you
at
do
a
not, Mr. Ellison.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have
All
a
right, Mr. Saliba, how do
I
you
have a
vote?
right to
Saliba?
put- why? And you
Mr.
won't let
Saliba,
me.
would you please give your vote?
Pass.
Joe Brungart,
Abstain because of the location.
Bruce Jakeways,
Yes.
Daniel Millmiller,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Jordan Martin,
What are vote counts so far?
six in favor, 2 abstentions, 2 passes, including yourself, and Brian Ellison not recorded. I guess that would be an abstention.
I'll abstain.
I would like to record my vote.
Okay, please record your vote.
Fuck you.
Fuck you too, buddy.
Mr. Zimba, you're also out of order. Please abstain. from
apologize.
profanities. Thank you very much. All right. Is the vote complete?
Vote has concluded.
Thank you very much. We now, go ahead, sorry.
6 in
Move to adjourn.
favor.
We're
Second.
now in the motion to remove Mr. Ellison from the meeting in light of his conduct. He's now dancing shirtless on the Zoom feed, as are many other members. So, Mr. Ziemba, would you please initiate a roll call vote to remove Mr. Ellison from the meeting, please?
Shut me down again, Andrew. Coward. Oh, look at. This is a farce.
Jordan Martin,
This is a farce.
vote to remove Brian Ellison from the meeting. Jordan Martin, how do you vote?
No.
Rick Thalen,
Yes.
Dave Canny,
No, but I moved to adjourn and remove the
Brian
lot.
Ellison,
Excuse me, you're not in order.
Brian Ellison, do you wish to vote?
I wish to pass.
Mike Saliba,
No.
Joe Verungart,
No.
Bruce Jakeways,
Yes.
Daniel Millmiller,
Yes.
myself, yes, Andrew,
Yes.
Mr. Ellison,
What's the vote?
6 yes, 4 no,
I vote yes.
7-4, vote passes.
So I would like to
Have a
appeal.
good night, Mr. Ellison.
I would like to appeal.
All right, there's no appeal to the ruling of the assembly. There's not an appealable decision. Mr. Ellison has been removed and will not be readmitted. We now move into the business of filling board vacancies. Our first
Motion to adjourn.
vacancy
Second.
is number 6. I believe you guys both wish to make a motion to the same motion. Is that correct, Mr. Brungart? You said wish to adjourn. We are not to a scheduled adjournment time yet. Our meeting is planned until 10:30. So this is not a privileged motion and therefore is debatable. I'd like to speak to your motion, Brungart. I take Mr. Saliba having seconded.
Mr. Saliba was the one that made the motion, just to be clear. I was gonna say something else. I want to speak against, because I want to get to open floor so that I can make a motion to add Mr. Chadderdon as a signee on the bank accounts, because right now I'm the only person that's a member of this board that has that, and I feel that's extremely.
Thank you very much. Is there any more discussion on the motion to adjourn? Hearing no further discussion, we will move to the vote. I'll start with a voice vote. All those in favor of adjourning, please say yes.
Yes.
Aye.
All those opposed to adjourning, please say no.
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 No. I believe the noes have it. So we move now to our filling of vacancies. Our District 6 is our first vacancy up for consideration. I will open the floor to nominations for filling the District 6 representative.
Mr.
Anyone
Chair,
would like to? Yes.
I'd like to nominate Raphael Wolf for the District 6 representative.
Is Mr. Wolf present in the meeting?
He was, and he personally told me he would accept the nomination.
Okay. That is in order. Do we have additional nominations for the District 6 representative? Mr. Miller.
I'd like to nominate Larry Henneman.
Larry, is in the meeting. Mr. Henneman, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I accept.
Thank you. Do we have any further nominations for the vacancy for District 6 representative?
I'd like to
Hearing
speak
none.
on the, I'd like to speak on the nominations.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Bungart.
Yeah, there's no offense to Larry, but he said recently in Discord that he would only accept this role if no one else was willing to take it, and for some reason has changed his mind all of a sudden. Raphael Wolf, on the other hand, sought out to represent the members of the Southwest multiple times, and I have spoken to a number of members from that area, from that affiliate, that support Raphael in this position.
All right, before we move to additional commentary, I believe it would be in order for Mr. Henneman to also speak to his nomination.
Okay, so the comments that you're talking about in Discord were in response to Brian saying I was leveraging myself for his position, which is in the new District 5, I believe. I wasn't talking about, representing our Southwest affiliate. In fact, I won't even be in the new redistricting. I won't even be in that district. I also spoke with Raphael Wolf and with Jason Brandenburg, who's our chair, and I was told by both of those gentlemen that they supported me accepting this position.
Yeah, I believe that is to the contrary. I spoke to both of those guys themselves, so we should probably just strike that from any conversation.
I'm sorry, Mr. Springer, you're not recognized. We have Mr. Canny recognized to speak next.
Yeah, I'm going to speak for Raphael Wolf as well, and I'm going to comment on Mr. Henneman's statement. And again, Mr. Henneman, nothing against you, and certainly appreciate the action you took for the party yesterday. I have a great deal of respect for you and your abilities, but I am speaking for Raphael Wolf here, and I will back up with what Joe has just said. I spoke with Raphael. I didn't speak with Jason, but I spoke with Raphael and he told me that he would accept the nomination. He wanted to be a district representative and would be here. Unfortunately, with the delays, he apparently had to leave. But Raphael Wolf is a longtime member. He served us well. He has the support of the people that live in the district for that position. They voted for them. Not everybody in the district was at the meeting, but a considerable number were, and they voted for him. We have nobody from that district here today.
A point of information, the election at the convention was out of order.
I never said it wasn't.
Can you move on?
I never said it wasn't out of order. I did say that an action did take place. People did express their opinions, and we know what that opinion is. We have nobody from that district here tonight. And I think we have an obligation to, at the very least, consider the opinion and the wishes of the people live in that district for Raphael Wolf, as opposed to a new member who just left the Republican Party. And granted, we all come from somewhere else. I myself was a Republican one time. Larry is new here. And I think that we have an obligation to respect the wishes that we know of from the people in that district and vote for Raphael Wolf. Thank you for the time and the consideration and a limited number of interruptions.
Thank you, Mr. Canny. Mr. Zamba, I think you're up next.
I assume Mr. Saliba is speaking in favor of Mr. Wolf. Is that correct, Mr. Saliba?
I was just looking for some clarification on Larry's name still being listed as a GOP alternate delegate for an event being held in April.
Thank you. I will recognize, I see Mr. Zamba top of the list.
All right. Well, I will comment that
I'd still like to know about it, though.
Yeah, can we get Larry to answer that question?
Gentlemen, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. Are you talking about an upcoming there's not been an appointment of delegates for the upcoming convention. And I don't
have-
plan to.
Save the date, Michigan Republican State Convention. These are the delegates selected to represent St. Joseph County at the, I believe I'm reading this wrong. It has April 21st, 2023 above it. But then in the purple font, it does say that was 2022. So it's just kind of a poorly set up website. It kind of confused me the way it was written. So I'll take it back, I guess.
Thank you.
Well, I will take that to mean Mr. Henneman has discerning taste in websites and sought a better party for that reason. As did I when I joined and became a board member very shortly after joining, not per district vote, as Mr. Kenny pointed out or argued to the contrary of. And I personally do not find arguments that the July 9th convention votes should be reinstated persuasive, considering those are conducted illegally, and in fact find myself increasingly opposed to the notion that we should somehow forcibly return the party to the state it was left in after that convention, including through these appointments.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Sliba?
I would like to speak in favor of Raphael, since the summer convention was ruled illegal, but those were good standing members and they did voice their opinion, and it doesn't vanish from history. And these meetings did go pretty well when Raphael was in that position.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, I would ask the secretary to move to a vote.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
would like to move to amend the time of adjournment until 11 p.m.
Okay, I think we had not started that vote yet, so I will rule that in order. Do you have any discussion on moving the agenda?
Like I said, I want to get that motion out that I mentioned. I don't want to be the only one with my name on the account since I'm no longer.
All right.
I'd like to speak against that.
I think Mr. Miller had his hand first, and then I will
I
recognize.
want to speak in favor of the extension, so I think Mike would be.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Brungart spoke in favor of his motion, so I will recognize Mr. Saliba to speak against.
I think Joe's done a good enough job being the only one for a period of time, and I think he can be the only one for a period of time longer until we can fit that better into a different meeting.
Mr. Miller?
I just think we have business that we still want to get completed tonight, fill up these spots. So I think we want to keep moving.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, we can start off with a voice vote. All of those in favor of adding 30 minutes to the agenda, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
I believe the yeses have it. So we have an additional 30 minutes, which will bring us to 11 p.m. Appreciate everyone's willingness to get through this business. I know it's been a tiresome meeting, and I appreciate everyone's willingness to stick around and complete our business for the night. So I believe we were on the verge of a vote on the District 6 representative. So if we are set for that, I would ask Mr. Ziemba to please proceed with the roll call vote for the district rep.
Sorry, what, are we voting on just one or the other? Since there's only
Correct.
two?
Yes, it's
That
it's a choice between Mr. Henneman or Mr. Wolf.
Okay, thank you.
So I would ask everyone to state their preference.
All right, Jordan Martin,
I need to unmute button. Raphael.
Rick Thalen,
NOTA is also an option, as was pointed out in the chat.
Oh,
So,
yes,
Mr.
of
Martin,
course.
did you consider NOTA in your options since I messed up the instruction initially?
I'll keep my vote.
Thank you.
all right, Rick Thalen,
Mr. Henneman.
Dave Canny,
Raphael,
Mr. Saliba,
Raphael,
Mr. Broomgart,
Wolf,
Mr. Jakeways,
Larry Henneman.
Daniel Millmiller,
Mr. Henneman,
myself, Mr. Henneman, Brian Roberts.
Larry Henneman.
Andrew, would you like to vote?
Mr. Henneman, please.
Okay. So on a 6-4, Mr. Henneman carries the vote.
congrats, Larry.
Thank you. So in light of the fact that motions take immediate effect, Mr. Henneman, you are eligible to vote in the future business in the meeting tonight. So that'll bring us now to the District 8 vacancy. I will open the floor for nominations for District 8 representative. See, Mr. Bringart, you had your hand up.
I think Mike was first, actually.
Looks like he lowered his hand.
Okay, I'll nominate John Elgus.
Okay. Let's see. We have Mr. Zimba.
I nominate Trevor Stepp.
Thank you. Trevor, do you accept your nomination?
Yes.
Thank you. As a point of information from everybody, Mr. Elgus mailed in that he was seeking the spot, so I did not look for extra confirmation of that. Is there any further nominations for District 8 representative? Okay. Seeing no further nominations, I would ask for a motion to close nominations and move to a vote between Mr. Elgus. Received some instructions. Seeing no further nominations, I will close the nominations and move us to a vote. We have as our options for this vote, Mr. John Elgus, then Mr. Trevor Stepp, as well as none of the above. So Mr. Ziemba, would you please go through a roll call vote among those three options?
Certainly. Rick Thalen,
Mr. Stepp.
Dave Canny,
John Elgus,
Larry Henneman,
Trevor Stepp,
Mike Saliba,
John Elgus,
Joe Broomgart,
Elgus,
Bruce Jakeways,
Trevor.
Daniel Millmiller.
Mr. Stepp,
Vote for Mr. Stepp, Brian Roberts,
Trevor Stepp.
Jordan Martin.
John.
Andrew, would you like to vote?
Is the vote decided?
Yes, it is 6-2. I'm sorry, is that? Yeah, 6-4, it's decided as of now.
I will abstain.
All right. Mr. Step wins 6-4.
Thank you, Mr. Step. Welcome to the board. You now also have a vote in the remaining business for the meeting. So we now move to District 13 to fill the vacancy in that. I will open the floor for nominations for District 13. Let's see, Mr. Brungart, I think I saw your hand first.
Nominate Jamie Van Alstine.
Is Jamie present? I believe she emailed her intent, so thank you for the nomination. Let's see. Mr. Thielen.
I nominate Dave Franklin.
Is Dave on the call? Dave, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I accept.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations?
Mr. Chair, if we could get Mr. Franklin to make a statement. I don't think most of us even know him. I've never seen him attend a meeting before. I've never met him in person. I'd like for him to speak as to why he wants to be a member of the board.
Yeah, I believe it would be in order. It looks like both candidates are present. I didn't see Jamie, my apologies, but we could hear from each candidate briefly for speaking to their nomination. Mr. Franklin, you were requested specifically, so I would allow you to go first if you like.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everyone. I apologize if there's any background noise. I'm driving. I was sitting on the meeting from work. I'm just super passionate about the philosophy and the ideas that move us. And I have almost a decade of political experience, in both major parties and also somewhat in the Libertarian Party. I have years of professional management experience, and I'm very excited to be a part of the Libertarian Party. The last 4 or 5 years have been really energizing, and I was super excited by Gary Johnson's campaign in 2016 and making a family and everything. I see my daughter growing up, and I want to be a part of the change that really improves this country and also, this party. So that's what really motivated me to be here tonight and to sit through the meeting and listen to all you fine people discussing the issues that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Ms. Van Alstine, do you wish to speak to your nomination?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you may know, I was not elected at the July 9th convention. The District 13 still had a vacancy at that convention. Instead, our district caucused in August, and members of that district selected me. And in September, the board appointed me based on that nomination from members of my district. Of course, the JC made a ruling in favor of Andrew's appeal, which removed me from the board. But I assert that I have been an active member of the Libertarian Party of Michigan for 4 years. I've been a chair for Wayne County for 2, a secretary for Wayne County for 1. I have been on the board 2 times. I have served on the campaign support committee, and I look forward to continuing the work of the party in the District 13 seat. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further nominations? Mr. Kenny.
Yes, I'd just like to speak on behalf of Jamie's nomination, and pretty much she gave the reason, as she was not nominated selected at convention. And while I understand this board's rejection of any actions taken by the prior board, the illegitimate board, the illegal board, whatever fits. But as far as recognizing the decision of the District 13 caucus, I don't believe this board has any business disregarding the results of that caucus and the District 13's members' selection of Jamie to represent them. Yeah, I think that is really beyond the scope of our decision making. But let's see what happens. It should be amusing.
Okay, hearing no more nominations, I will declare the nominations closed and move to a vote. Again, our choices are between Jamie Van Alstine, Dave Franklin, and none of the above. When you're ready, Mr. Simba, please conduct a roll call vote.
All right. Again with Mr. Kenny,
Jamie, please.
Mr. Henneman,
Pass.
Trevor Step,
Mr. Franklin,
Mike Saliba,
Jamie, but I'd also like to say hello and welcome to Mr. Franklin.
you, Mr. Brungart,
Jamie,
Mr. Jakeways,
Mr. Franklin,
Mr. Neil Miller,
Mr. Franklin,
myself. Pass. Ryan Roberts. Ryan.
All right, I said I passed, sorry.
Mr. Martin.
Jamie.
Mr. Thalen.
Mr. Franklin,
Mr. Chair, do you wish to vote?
Please come back to me at the end of the votes.
Mr. Henneman,
I abstain.
Mr. Franklin, Ryan Roberts.
What's the vote count again?
Count is 5-4 in favor of Mr. Franklin.
I'll vote Dave Franklin.
Mr. Chair, do you wish to vote?
Are all the votes collected?
That they are.
I'll abstain.
All right. Vote is 6-4 in favor of Mr. Franklin.
Okay. Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Franklin, to the board. We now have a vote on the remaining business. Brings us to our last vacancy, District 14. So I'll open the floor for nominations. Mr. Brungart.
yeah, before I nominate this person, can I speak about them as I nominate them?
I believe that's in order to make a nomination speech. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this gentleman is extremely dedicated to our party, puts in countless hours. If he doesn't get elected to represent this district, it would be really disheartening and really a slap in the face to the whole party. So I nominate Jeff Patel.
I accept.
Thank you. All right. I see Scotty with his hand raised.
Yeah, just want to make sure Jeff Patel is in District 14.
Yeah, the prior District 14, right?
Right.
Which kind of goes from basically Pontiac to West Bloomfield, down 8 Mile to Grosse Pointe.
Okay, I'll withdraw my self-nomination then.
Okay. Are there any further nominations? Seeing none, I will close nominations. We will go to a vote between Mr. Patel and Noda. Let's see. So I think with this one, I will venture an attempt at a voice vote to save us some time. So all those in favor of Mr. Patel, please say aye.
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 Any in favor of Noda, please say nay for this case. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah,
welcome
thank you,
Mr.
folks,
Patel
and
to the
thanks,
board.
Joe.
All right. With that, that concludes our motions to fill vacancies. We have 2 motions to consider remaining on our agenda for tonight and 15 minutes before our adjournment time. And we have the request from Mr. Broomgart to consider a motion relating to our bank account. So with that, put forward that we can consider the table motions, although I would see, I'll recognize Mr. Ziemba. Then I would like to give Mr. Henneman a chance to speak, as the request to motion to audit finances was from him. So Mr. Ziemba, you're recognized first.
I move Joe's proposal.
Let's see, I think that is out of order on our agenda, but we could consider to table the intermediate motions to
In that case, I
bring to the
will,
open floor.
I will motion to table until after these motions, the remaining business, which I believe was the bylaws committee.
We can do one motion at a time. We have the motion to audit finances in front. Would you like to motion to
Oh, I'm
table that
sorry.
one?
That is actually on the floor at the moment? Or,
It's next in our agenda that was adopted.
okay, I'll move that one then.
Okay, so if there's no objection, I would give Mr. Henneman the floor to speak to this motion because it was his request to include that.
Yeah, I understand we've been out without a treasurer for some time. And our affiliate chair had some concerns that, things might be falling to the wayside. And just to make sure everything's in good order and the party doesn't incur any liability for reports or any such things, I would make a motion that we ask Jason Brandenburg to audit our books to make sure everything's in order. I spoke with Mr. Brandenburg earlier and he agreed that he would be willing to do that.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Ziemba, is your hand still up to speak to the motion? Or is that left over from your previous?
I apologize, no.
Okay.
And
Mr. Henneman,
point
if you
of
wish to speak.
Information though.
Yes.
I apologize. Larry, would you mind typing a synopsis in the chat to make sure I record it correctly?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, while Mr. Henneman is typing the motion into the chat, do we have, Mr. Henneman, you'd be entitled to speak further to your motion if you like, or we can open the floor to discussion.
Go ahead and open the floor. I'll just try to get this typed in.
Sure thing. Mr. Broomgart, are you wishing to speak further?
I wish to speak in favor.
Okay.
Anybody
You have the
wishes?
floor.
Okay. Yeah, Larry's completely right. I will say, having access to the bank accounts, I have looked back as far as when I became chair to do, however you want to look at it. So I haven't looked back further than that. I know Norm has been dealing with health issues for a while, so I don't know how long that was impacting his ability to keep up on the ledger. So I fully support this. I think that it is very necessary, and we should just do it.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? All right, without seeing any further discussion, I will move to a vote on this motion. Would all of those in favor of requesting for Mr. Brandenburg to conduct an audit of all LPMI financial accounts per the wording that was presented by Mr. Henneman, specifically in the chat, disregard my wording of that. So the motion to authorize and request that Jason Brandenburg audit the accounts of LPMI. All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. I would say is thank you all for passing that motion. I think it's a very valuable one, and I think it's no way speaks to any kind of negative statement about Mr. Peterson's services, and we greatly appreciate the work he's done for a long time in the party. So with that, we bring to our last item on the agenda before open floor, which was to consider a bylaws committee. We also only have 9 minutes left before our scheduled adjournment time. I believe there was discussion to consider tabling this motion, or if we wish to go into that. I don't know who raised their hand first, Mr. Roberts or Mr. Ziemba. Do either of you know?
It was Ziemba.
Okay.
Yeah, I move to table this until after consideration of Joe's motion.
Okay. That is an undebatable motion. So we will move immediately to a vote on that. So we would postpone this motion until after open floor. So all of those in favor to postpone the motion to consider appointing bylaws committee, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we now go into open floor. Mr. Bringart?
Yeah, I'm typing my motion in the chat.
I believe that it requires that we have to list specifically the account numbers that access would be given to. I spoke to the bank briefly, and I think we could consider a motion that we could have you fill that after the fact if the board is okay with that.
Well,
but state the intention.
I don't think we should put bank account numbers in meeting minutes that are available to everyone.
I think alternatively, we could authorize a letter to be issued. Actually, there was another related matter that the bank informed me of, is that we need to consider the officers that are listed in our nonprofit corporation filing with the state. So I would suggest that we should consider a motion also to update our filing with Lara, which is the state registry of that, to update our bylaw or update our officers in that.
Okay, that'll require a 25 or 35, $25 to $35 fee.
I'll take your word on that. I'm not familiar with the requirements, so I would propose that would be moved first. I don't know that we've made any other motions, so if someone would so move that we consider a motion to authorize any filing fee or related fees related to updating the documentation for the Libertarian Party of Michigan Executive Committee Incorporated to reflect the current officers. So that can be used as a basis to update the bank accounts Would anyone consider to
Point of
move such a motion?
information or inquiry.
Yes, Mr. Zimba.
So would passing this motion to update the Lara filing and identifying the officers with access automatically grant permissions to switch access as necessary?
No.
We would need specifically Mr. Bringer, that's correct. We need a specific, either meeting minutes that authorize the change or a letter signed by the secretary as recognized in Lara to authorize the bank accounts. So my suggestion would be that we authorize updating that Lara data, and then we authorize the secretary to issue the required documentation for updating the bank accounts.
All right, so moved as a combined motion.
Okay, so that's to do the corporate filing and the letter for the bank accounts combined, and inclusive of any fees associated with the updating of the corporate documentation. Is that acceptable as the motion put forward? Mr.
I guess
Zimba?
I'm not the one making it anymore, so it doesn't matter, but if you guys could repeat it.
So what I have written is that I move to update the LPM's Lara corporate filing in terms of which officers may access the party bank accounts and authorize the secretary to issue a letter authorizing transfer of access to those accounts to Chair Andrew Chadderdon. Is that what we want to say?
I
No. Go
I think
ahead,
you know
Nick.
what you're, I was going to suggest that the motion for the Lara update should be considered along the lines of simply to update that to reflect the current state of the board. And then the associated fees with that. It's not related to who gets the bank account access. There's not really a connection from that.
Oh, sorry, I was misunderstanding that.
And then the motion for the second thing would be to authorize the secretary to issue the necessary documentation. And I would suggest to authorize inclusion of the chair and treasurer that will be when a treasurer is appointed. So it covers both. Although actually, I don't know, we might not be able to, we might need to do a separate motion for that. I think we should consider that separately, actually. I think it needs to name the person.
If I can just speak freely for a
Yeah,
second.
go ahead.
I think we should just separate the two motions. The motion to add Andrew onto the accounts, I think we should just simplify it as authorize Daniel to write a letter to Comerica to add Mr. Chadderdon as a signer on the accounts.
That's pretty simple and good, I think.
All right, I'll record you as having made that motion, Joe.
Yeah, and then I can give you the accounts when in a private forum, Daniel, where they're not going to be accessed by everyone.
Okay, so authorize myself to issue a letter authorizing the transfer of bank account access from yourself to Andrew, you said, or to Andrew and myself?
I would personally, that you know, vote on this how you want. I would state to add Andrew so that there's two
Or
people
add, okay,
as
add
signers of
add
the account.
access to the bank account.
Guys.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Not
If
that
we
I
go if we go the route of the letter, that will require the Lara update because they were specific on that. I think they were more lenient with meeting minutes, but if we,
Okay, so we want additional
point
access.
of information, we're just about at our time deadline. If anyone would like to add maybe 10 more minutes to take care of this motion. Mr. Stepp, you have your hand raised.
I'd like to make a motion to add an additional 10 minutes to the agenda this evening to
Do I have a second?
till 11:10.
Second.
Is there any opposition? All right, thank you. Please proceed, Mr. Zimba.
Okay, so the motion, which I'll second, is move to, and correct me if I screwed it up again. Joe moves to authorize the secretary to issue a letter authorizing access to the party bank account. Authorizing additional access to the party bank account for Chair Andrew Chadderdon. Did you say me as well or no?
I think just chair on the grounds that the business, managing the business of the party, so I think chair and
Yep,
treasurer.
that sounds good to me.
Mr. Brungart, are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
And we'll leave you on there as you described. All right, so we have the motion. Is there any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, move to vote. Is there any opposition to the motion to add me as a signer per the terms of the motion stated? Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion is passed. So we should further consider now the motion about the update of Laura to be in line with our current board composition. Would anyone make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Zimba. So,
Second.
all right. So we have a motion. Please ensure, as you stated, that it authorizes any associated fees.
Yep. So I move
For
to
that.
update the LPM's Lara corporate filing to reflect the current state of the board and pay associated fees.
I would suggest to refer to the Libertarian Party of Michigan Executive Committee Incorporated. Do we have any discussion?
It's, I don't think it matters for the motion, but I will have to probably, pay for that. So can we, actually, it does matter. Can we authorize me to pay for it so that I don't get fucked over somehow for using the
Yes,
card?
please. I agree completely with that. And that brings another point to mind that I'll raise after this motion. Let me know when you're ready, and please read the final motion when you have it prepared, Mr. Zimba.
Okay. The final motion text is, I move to update the Libertarian Party of Michigan Executive Committee Inc.'s Lara corporate filing to reflect the current state of the board and pay associated fees, parenthesis, most likely by Joe B. using the party debit card. Leaving that open in case we find another way.
Second.
Okay, is there any opposition to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. I would make one more statement as noted in the agenda under the motion for the notice of convention. The venue requires a check or cash payment for $200 of security deposit. I apologize, I didn't note in the motion the overall fee for the venue that was authorized in the previous meeting was $495 for the rental fee. We need to make a $200 security deposit promptly. So if anyone would please consider to move a motion to authorize Mr. Brungart to provide a check for the $200 security deposit to the Wixom VFW post 2269. Would somebody please move such motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Brungart, in case you didn't hear, we're considering a motion to authorize you to write a check for the security deposit for the convention venue.
I didn't go anywhere. I heard it. I'm good with it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure. Do we have any discussion of that motion? Is there any opposed to authorizing Mr. Brungart to provide a check for the $200 to the VFW? Hearing no opposition, the motion is approved. Is there any other business that anyone would like to raise in open floor? Okay, hearing none, I will move to our last item on our agenda, which is the consideration of appointment of a bylaws committee. We'll note we only have 6 meetings left, so I would ask either if we would like to motion to adjourn or to extend time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We have a seconded motion to adjourn. Is anyone opposed to adjournment? All right, hearing no opposition, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. I know it was a difficult meeting. Appreciate everyone's time.
And
Have a good
stop
night.
the recording.